The following is a presentation of the iRacing eSports Network.
Hi, I'm Michael Conti, driver of the number 5 4Front Chevy, and you're watching iRacing Live.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series playoffs march on to race number 3 tonight from Atlanta. Michael Conti is still the only playoff driver whose fate has already been decided, courtesy of that race win just 2 weeks ago. And Logan Clampett's win from last week at Indianapolis prevented any other of our playoff competitors from getting that sought-after free pass into the round of 4. 2 races down and 2 races to go in the round of 8. So as we get set to go green flag racing from the Atlanta Motor Speedway, we'll take a step back to Indianapolis with this week's iRacing race recap from round 15. From the Brickyard, pace car down and in. Going to be a long wait to the front straightaway. They'll cross the yard of bricks. Brad Davies takes the green flag and playoff race 2 of this 2018 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series is underway to turn 1. Race leader out in front, side by side for second. Vincent on the inside, Alusa can't do it as they get him up to speed. The Camaro ZL1s recently to the iRacing service. First time we're seeing them here on a Tuesday night in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series. And one of them's in the battle for the race lead as here comes Ryan Luza to the inside. And he'll snatch it away from pole sitter Brad Davies. First lead change comes at lap 5. And it is a Ford Fusion to P1.
As that number 5 of Michael Conti, who's casually, by the way, strolled out to a 3-second lead over Corey Vincent. He comes off that 4th corner, and he's off the throttle as well. Leader coming down pit road. I believe that's it's Corey Vincent coming down pit road. Ryan Michael Luza, I think we can expect to see the bulk of the field hit pit road right now.
If there's one driver that has that cushion to do so, it's probably Ryan Luza. As you see on your screen, the 83. We got one around. Caution is out. It's the 02 of Bergeron going around, and that will draw the first caution that we've seen in almost a month here in this series.
For the first time tonight, it is a very slow start for the 29. A lot of tire spin on the front row as they fight side by side to 1. You can see that 46 of Clampett looking for a way around the 55 of Schoenberg. They're so tight down in the center of 1 and 2. There's the move to the inside for the 29. He'll shut the door.
See what happens. Field stacked up as they come off a 2. We somehow, I think, hold it clean. Pit grass finds the outside wall. Logan's going to look at the bottom of the double nickel of Brian Schoenberg. I don't think he's going to quite be able to get there to make it 3 wide, but Mr. Ryan Michael Luza is, and he will get clear to the top. So they're going to be 2 by 2 through 3 and 4, and look at the speed difference in the 29. Schoenberg has to check himself up to the upper groove. That opens P2 up for Michael Conti, for Logan Clampett as they come off of corner number 4, and a little bit of contact. They're 3 wide for that 3rd spot down the front straightaway.
It'll be 3 wide as the 55 falls, but here's the battle for the race lead. To the inside goes Logan Clampett is going to touch him. Pipgrass sideways. What a save as he slides back on the outside, but somehow does not reckon, and everybody behind is going to lose it. Pace car headed back down. Look at Clampett's been so good a couple of times. Let's also keep it out on Zelensky in the fight for second. A green flag in the air. It is enough for Clampett to lead to turn 1. But Zach Novak, big improvement. This time he'll defend second into the corner.
Zelensky will pull up behind and maintain position number 3. Behind them will be the battle with Schoenberg. He'll clear it, and there will be Brad Davies on the outside of Jimmy Mullis. Mullis flexing his muscle here late as they battle side by side for what is position number 5 off of the corner. Davies gets that great run in front of them. Brian Schoenberg has come to party. The double nickel looks to the inside of Zelensky.
final time now on the back straightaway. Logan Clampett just needs to make sure he doesn't miss turn 3 with Novak breathing down his neck. The battle for the race lead for Minnie is going to come all the way to the final quarter, and he just missed out on a playoff spot. Logan Clampett looks like he'll weather the pressure. He'll come off of the final quarter for his first win in 2018. Logan Clampett a winner in a NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series. It comes at the Brickyard.
Oh, that was late.
Hey guys! This week, the 6 on my team are Truex, Logano, Larson, Blaney, Chase, and Suarez. For the rest of you, better luck next week.
She's missing out, dude. Yeah.
The all-new NASCAR Fantasy Live. Visit nascar.com/fantasy and build your team today.
Tonight from the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to RaceSpot TV's continuing coverage of the 2018 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series playoffs, where tonight from the ATL we continue the round of 8 with race number 3 of 4. So happy that you're with us tonight once again on a Tuesday evening. Myself, Evan Pasoko, alongside with Tim Terry up at a RaceSpot TV booth with you this evening. Downstairs, as always, our director Hugo Luis is bringing us to you this evening. And Tim, it speaks for itself, halfway home in the open round of the playoffs as we come this evening to Atlanta. Got a hot one on tap for 167 laps.
Absolutely, and unlike the next round at Dover, you kind of can control your own destiny here. We've seen some of these 1.5 milers already this year, and we'll see who comes out on top. Obviously, Michael Conti already locked in, and with Logan Clampett winning 2 weeks ago, Ryan Luza looks kind of good up top when it comes to the point standings, as you can see on your screen, 28 up. As long as he doesn't have a catastrophe in these next 2, he might be safe. The question is, who joins them in that playoff picture?
And on the flip side of that, you talk about that win that automatically punched Conti into that championship 4. You look at the very bottom of that playoff grid, somebody like a Nicholas Shelton to Bobby Zelensky, you're starting to get into territory where if you don't break that down to some single digits coming out of this evening as we head to Dover in a couple of weeks to complete this round, you're almost in a win and have to get in situation. Of course, obviously that cut line, only 2 points separate Ray Alfala and Keegan Leahy, so 7 drivers by vying for those 3 remaining spots. Lose the safest of all of them, excluding Conti, as you see, with that 28-point advantage. And the question, Tim, that we asked ourselves as we came into the playoffs was, were we going to see a spoiler? And it was Logan DeClampa who answered that question for us 2 weeks ago from Indy. The highest running driver in the points that missed the cut. He was 9th overall in a regular season. Only the top 8 made it. He did the win. So now we have to look, do we see another one in these next 2 weeks?
I think when we go down the starting grid, Evan, I think we're going to see a couple of names that might be able to play spoiler, but we've got a lot of playoff contenders starting near the front of this field.
Qualifying completed earlier. The practice session just now rounds to a close. Let's go trackside and take a look at your RaceSpot TV starting grid tonight from Atlanta. Pole position belongs to Michael Conti. That number 5 doesn't need to do anything the next 2 weeks, but he's going to go out there, race for what it's worth, and he is going to bring us to the green flag this evening, accompanied by the 13 of Brad Davies on the outside of the front row, starting in second. Brian Schoenberg's number 55 machine rolls off third position. Corey Vincent will start from 4th at P5 tonight. The 05, that's Nick Ottinger.
Ryan Luza rolls the 6 from position number 6. Logan Clampett, our most recent winner, will roll from 7th. Keegan Leahy in 8th. Andrew Payash, the 3rd, great qualifying effort in 9th. And Nick Shelton really needs to do something here this evening. He's going to roll off 10th.
Taylor Hurst going to be on the inside of row 6. He'll be P11, joined by Bobby Zelensky in 12th. Chris Schubert and Ray Alfala make up the next row, 13th and 14th. Christian Challenger, 15th position in this one, with Jimmy Mullis in 16th. Zach Novak, 17th. Casey Kerwin, 18th. And back on row 10, it'll be the 47 to Chris Overland, rolling from P19. And Michael Guest rounding out your top 20.
And completing your field is Blake Reynolds, Casey Tucker, David Rattler, Joe Letteriello. Got Matt Busa way back in 25th place. He's going to have to pedal tonight once again. Phil Diaz, Colton Davis, Marcus Richardson, Ryan Lowe, and completing your field, the Gary Mercer trucking number 8 is Adam Gilliland.
Complete look top to bottom of your RaceSpot TV starting grid. We talk about this virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. Actually, just a tad bit longer than that 1.5 mile benchmark. Clocks in at 1.54. The big thing to look at is those 24 degrees of banking and a very old and rather abrasive racing surface. That means that as these drivers are going at it in excess of 200 miles an hour, they're going to be slipping and sliding. It is going to be a ton of fun as we go racing tonight for 250 miles. The pace car is going to dive down in this time. As always, we're happy that you're spending a Tuesday night with us at RaceSpot TV and the iRacing eSports Network. Michael Conti, your only playoff winner thus far. He looks to get another one as we go green flag racing from Atlanta. The 3rd race of 4 in the round of 8 is green on these NASCAR PEAK Antifreeze iRacing Series playoffs. And as we get up to the gears for the first time, already a change for position up front. Nice slick move. Brian Schoenberg takes second away from Davies as they head down the back for the first time.
If we're looking at potential spoilers, Brian Schoenberg and Brad Davies should be on the top of that list. You look at Schoenberg looking for his first win in the series. Conti has done really well in these last couple of rounds. The Heyman Hustle 55 moves quickly to position number 2 with Davies back to 3rd. And Nick Ottinger, there's another driver just on the outside of that bubble that needs a good run this evening. He's found his way to 4th. There's Luza trying to rubber up the outside of Corey Vincent on the inside.
Lose up on the outside of the racetrack. Again, that highest ranked driver not already locked in, 28 points above the cut line as he works up on the outside of the racetrack with that 10 of Vincent down low. It is the first side-by-side battle we're seeing on track, and the beautiful thing about Atlanta, you can just carry so much speed through the corners. 204 that time into one, and they don't get much lower than about 176 or so in the center as we see that outside prevail, and Luz is going to get the spot down the back straight away, cuts it close, but he'll swing to the inside, and he's not happy with just P5. He wants to go for 4th against Davies.
Brad Davies trying to hold on to that outside line, but the 6th of Ryan Luza trying to get that inside run. Can't get it out of the double dog leg. He'll try again down into corner number 1. Gets that nose to the inside. They'll continue to go door to door. The 13 tries to get this run at a corner number 2 and down the back straightaway. He'll clear the 6. Maybe the 6 still has the nose inside the door there. He'll go back to the inside, and they're starting to line up behind Vincent and Clampett trying to make a move. If this side-by-side battle in front of them gets decided, looks like it might here with Davies taking the spot.
And Davies using the outside line to defend against the charge from Luza. That's the same line that Luza had just used to make the move on Corey Vincent. When you talk about racetracks that are very fast and where you can carry speed, especially with the 24 degrees banking in the corners, topside may be the best defensive line you can have, because you're going to get just such a good run coming off of 2 and coming off of 4. You can see as it's no longer a side-by-side fight, that 13 machine still a little bit higher up as they come off of the corner, and you're just able to carry that little bit more momentum. But you can certainly see Davies trying to sneak away from P4. No changes in front since then. Still Conti 1, Schoenberg 2, and Nick Ottinger up to 3rd. But a fight for 2nd may be inbound. The gap between those two cars down to about a car length as we now see another dive to the inside. Corey Vincent wants it back. He'll go to the inside of Luza and a fight for P5 and 6.
Luza now on that outside line, trying to defend from the 10 of Vincent. Will do so here at the completion of lap number 6. Logan Clampett still there as well. There's your battle for position number 2 on the screen. Ottinger, it's time to go for the 05, and he'll move to position number 2 around the 55 of Brian Schoenberg, and then the 13 of Brad Davies closes back in again. But 2 playoff contenders up in front of this field now, with 2 drivers trying to play spoiler in 3rd and 4th.
And we've certainly seen that some of those non-playout drivers just as good as those who made it in. And the difference between the Clampett and making it in or out was just a couple of points between 8th and 9th in the regular season standings. Somebody like a Brian Schoenberg, who that time by officially on the scoring pile now drops to 3rd, as Ottinger was able to make the move. The 55 has been awfully fast the last month or two. Really a lot of good improvements out of that camp as they look for maybe a first trip to victory lane. But you're seeing all of these drivers up front not really spreading out all that early on, and not a ton of changes inside of the top 10 besides a couple of spots here or there. I do want to note on the opposite end of the spectrum, not a good start for the 77 of Andrew Fayash III. He had a great qualifying effort, P9. Normally we're talking about the opposite. Well, he's fallen down 8 spots. He runs 17th. Only driver to start top 10 that has fallen out of the top 10 already, and he's dropped a good margin. So we'll see if the 77's got a little bit more speed on the long run, if they can pick it up in that Kirkwood Chevy.
And you talk about drivers working together. Yes, Conti, Ottinger, Schoenberg, and even Brad Davies. A little bit of a satellite technical alliance there. Some drivers working together. The other one, a part of that little foray.
You can see them all in line there. Certainly Ottinger, Schoenberg, and then when you get that the close real estate that we were mentioning, with Davies and Luza, the 6 cars going to go down to the inside on the 13 machine. So side by side we'll go for position 4. But a driver with a great view of that is the peak entry of Corey Vincent, who seems to want to go down to the inside of the racetrack. Instead, he'll just sit behind. Doesn't want to make a move quite yet. A little bit of a tailspin that time off of the corner. You saw the back end of the 13 get a little bit loose, and he'll be able to defend once more. It's about the 3rd or 4th time, Tim, up here inside of the top 5, top 10. We've seen a driver go to the inside, and listen, it's wide open because these drivers aren't running way down on that white line close to the apron. So you want to stick your nose in there, be my guest. You just can't get it to stick grip-wise off the corner, and that's why you're seeing these drivers right here run mid-pack. The only exception, Logan Clampett, the 46 machine, winner from 2 weeks ago at Indianapolis. He's trying to go for 2 in a row, still stuck where he started at P7, but he was the only challenger that last time going down to the inside, and they've already moved up a noticeable amount, only 12 laps into this race from the bottom to that middle line.
And we saw this last season with Michael Conti, where he barely missed the playoff 7 and really had a strong end of the season. We're seeing that out of Logan Clampett this season. He's had a really strong end of the season so far and just barely missed the playoffs, and now in contention for another victory, running in position number 7. Right behind him, Keegan Leahy. There's a driver that's hovering around the bubble, and right behind him, there's Nick Shelton, he's really got to go in these last couple of races. He hasn't had the first 2 playoff races he's won it, but I think we're seeing a new Shelton here this evening. At least a great qualifying effort out of this one, and now within the top 10 and looking to gain 1 more spot on Keegan Leahy.
And you're on board with the number 12 to Shelton as he looks to the inside of Leahy. A little bit maybe too close for comfort down to the apron there. And it looked like Taylor Hurst in the back end had to lift out of the throttle just a tad bit. Shelton comes into tonight 23 points below Ray Alfala, who's 4th. He is all the way at the bottom of the state championship standings. And again, you get a top 10, you get a top 5 of this, you got a fighting chance at it into Dover. But I think the 12 machine needs a little bit of magic to help him out here in these final 2 races on the round of 8. First battle now going to be, looks like behind them a little bit of action. It's the 2 of Ray Alfala, kind of quiet. That bright red number 2 2 Ford started P14. He's not going to be able to get on the inside of Hurst. We're very early seeing how hard it is to make a car stick on the inside line, but he's trying nonetheless, and he'll take a little bit of a higher look this time at 1 and 2 as the cars in front of him stack up. Alfala comes into this evening in the championship picture only 2 points ahead of Keegan Leahy. Leahy runs 3 positions in front of him on a racetrack right now. That means the live points would say Ray Alfala's out, Keegan Leahy's in.
And he had a dismal effort at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, just to put it frankly. And right now, Ray is sitting, as you mentioned, in position number 11. He's got to get some points. You would imagine that those final 4 would have Ray Alfala in it. I can't remember a championship battle going to Homestead in the recent years that didn't have Ray Alfala with at least a shot at winning a championship, but it is early in this race, and you better believe that Ray Alfala is going to race his heart out here this evening to try to get a little bit of a cushion going into that final round before the cutoff at Dover. There's Shelton to the inside of a Hurst, and just in front of them, it looked like the 10 was trying to peek the nose underneath the 6 of Ryan Luza. Nothing doing there, but up in front, Michael Conti's gone by over a second.
Yeah, gone, and that's not an exaggeration at all. Look at the gap as he comes into quarter number 2. There's Ottinger and then Schoenberg and that big long line of cars that we've been keeping good tabs on through the top 10. I think that once you get back to 3rd or 4th or so, the differences between cars only a couple of tenths as we pick up the fight for 14th spot. It's Bobby Zelensky going backwards. The pass is made by Chris Shearburn. He goes down to the inside, slides up on the exit. You can move the number 36 machine up into P14. Shelton trying to get back to where he started this race. Lost a couple of spots right out of the gate, but this is what you're going to see mid-pack, are these constant fights. It's going to be very difficult to get away from somebody. You see cars in the pockets of 3 or 4 here and there, and again, with the exception of your top 2 or 3, everybody's still pretty tight now 18 laps into this race.
Matt Busa comes onto your screen, the 34, moving to the front of the field, and the driver just in front of him, Bobby Zelensky, in the number 83. He had a great run going at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A last lap incident took that away from him, and as we saw when we came on to the broadcast here this evening, he is needing some points and needing a win in order to try to advance to that final round of 4 at Homestead. But right now, doing what he has to do. It's early in the race. Car is in one piece. He's running in position number 15, but he's going to need a little bit more, but we've got a lot of laps to run here as well. So keep an eye on Bobby Zelensky. I don't want to say this is a make-or-break race for him, Evan, but I'm sure that hand is hovering over the panic button right now if you're the 83 team.
You never want to officially, get to that point. However, you look at the position he comes into, and again, it's the same with Shelton. You could run where you are right now, just at about or just outside of the top 10, and it's going to give you a shot. You're still in this thing. But the matter of the fact is you've lost points in the first 2 races. In order to make points up, you can't just run around 14th position or so, 15th in the case of Zelensky, as we go on board to see if he'll be able to maintain that spot, because Busa wants to take it away. And as the 34 gets to the outside, that could be a good run. Watch as they come out of quarter number 2. You're on board with Busa, and you can see the speed advantage. He gets off the corner. They put him pretty much dead even down into turn number 3. I'm sure Zelensky is going to be able to hold this fight off either. Just missing that little bit extra, and it's been a similar story for a handful of his other playoff competitors. It could come down to a couple of things. 2 races in, a couple of bad runs gets you behind, or even if your car isn't that bad, if you're just not spectacular, you rack out of one race, you have a bad week like we saw out of Alfala that you just mentioned, Tim, a couple of weeks ago at Indy, a racetrack that we normally expect him to be really good at, and if you don't have that spectacular car, it's hard to make up that time that you lose.
Absolutely. You cannot afford a mulligan, per se, in this playoffs, and when you look at that picture, there's a couple of drivers that have had really good runs. And how about Busa? Busa hasn't had the qualifying efforts that some of these other drivers have, but he's been able to dig deep in these races. And right now, Busa has made the move on Chris Shearburn up to position number 14 and begins to track down his next driver in line, which would be Jimmy Mullis, but it's about a second or so between himself and position number 13 at this point. Most of your front runners have separated each other, but the first side-by-side battle appears to be the 10 and the 6. That is Corey Vincent and Ryan Luza. That's the battle for position number 5, and Vincent wants it away on the inside.
We've seen this battle a couple of times already. Luza made that pass a couple of laps ago on the outside. Vincent's tried time after time, but he'll finally get the job this time. He slides up at a corner 2, and he finally has gotten that position back, so you could move Vincent in the 10 back up to P5. Still one spot shy of where he started this race, but he might not be done yet. He's got a great line there, but a half a line lower than the cars around him, and made up a ton of time on Brad Davies in the number 13 machine there as well, so this fight may transfer up to all the way up to P4. Once you get to Davies, though, there's a noticeable gap of about a second till you'll find Schoenberg in third, who's closing the gap on Nick Ottinger. Ottinger's really fallen off the last few laps, so P2 might be the place to keep an eye on it because Conti's grown the gap between 1 and 2, while Schoenberg has closed in on the 05. I think Ottinger's searching for grip right now.
And Schoenberg running that second groove compared to where Ottinger is running. Right a little bit closer to that white line. Gets that run at a 4 points into the inside. The Heyman Hustle, number 55. Will work to the inside of the Richmond Raceway 05 and exchange for position. That'll put Schoenberg up to position number 2. Will Ottinger cross him over here at a 2? Is he close enough? I don't think he's going to get there. That'll put the 55 up to second. Ottinger back to third. And the Chaos Crew still has positions 1, 2, and 3 right now as we work through the completion of lap number 26.
The 55 going to be able to be scored in the number 2 spot this time. Ottinger probably could have dove to the inside. He had a good run out of 4 after we saw Schoenberg kind of slide high to complete the pass, but I think Ottinger pretty aware. Schoenberg, the better of those 2 cars at the moment. You can really see it center off. It just hooks up a lot better, and he'll add about 2 car lengths to the gap. And the question is, now that he's got clean air, let's see if Schoenberg can chase down Conti. The gap between 1 and 2, about 1.8 seconds. You saw the side-by-side fight right there as we watch all the cars headed to 3 and 4. The 6 of Ryan Luza on the inside, trying to really defend at this point. It was not all that long ago that Corey Vincent passed him for P4, and Luza cannot get off at the bottom of the racetrack. He's gotten passed by Davies, by Clampett, by Leahy, and the Bleeding's going to stop. Caution for the first time tonight at lap number 28. A couple of cars slow. Looks like Casey Tucker's 28 is the one that went around.
So that'll bring up the caution for the first time about halfway through a pit run, and you're going to see the RaceSpot replay on your screen. And is that Overland getting into the back of the 28 car of Tucker? 7 of Lowe gets woed up in time, and he had to get on the binders to make sure he didn't plow into the 28. But it looks like the 28 gets a little bit loose. The 47, nowhere to go, and gets into the back bumper of the 28. Little damage to the front of the 47, but he'll carry on, and might be a little bit of damage to the 7 of Lowe, but that could have been a lot worse than it was.
Yeah, just a little bit of a check up there, and it certainly looks like Tucker might have even lost that car anyways. There's the onboard, and you can see the contact as you went on with the Chris Overland entry there. Certainly looks like even if he's not there, that car is going around. Would have been very difficult, I think, to regain control. Here's an onboard shot from Ryan Lowe. You'll see the check up in front, and somehow with the 28 spinning, he only gets a little piece of it, but certainly could have been a lot worse. We'll see if he has to sit down into the pit box any longer than what a scheduled stop would be to get that fixed, because everybody is going to be coming down pit road. Michael Conti's 1.8 second advantage has been eviscerated, and we're on pit stops. First time tonight under the yellow, lap 29.
I was told by some of these drivers if this thing did go green, the pit window would be about 55 to 58 laps. You could short pit, but it would be a little bit slower on 3 stops as compared to 2, even with the time that you would gain on the fresh tire. So that goes out the window at least for this point. 30 laps into this one. Conti is going to take 4 tires, and we'll see if he is the first one that comes off of pit road. Looks like a clean stop for the 5, and he's going to light it up off pit road, and the 2 Team Conti teammates will come off 1-2. Schoenberg in second.
It didn't look like the 55 was making it easy on him at all, though, really trying to win that race off of pit lane, get everything he could, but sometimes that's when that number 1 to pit stall is such a good place to be. Take a look at the left-hand side of your screen. The positions gained and or lost out of the pit lane. Not a ton of changes up front. Vincent's going to be able to leapfrog Ottinger, who falls to P4. Looks like Logan Clampett leapfrogs Davies, so they'll swap out P5 and P6, and looks like also good stops for Luza, Hurst, Alfala, Keegan, Leahy. In number 24 loses a ton of spots on pit road, and we will see what the cause of that was. He went with 4 tires just like everybody else, but it looked like he missed the box on entry, and it's going to cost Leahy about a dozen positions at least.
something you don't want to do, especially early in the race. But the good thing is, it is early in the race. You've got some laps to make it up. But on a caution flag, you don't want to be in the middle of the pack because that's usually where all the action and excitement happens. We've seen these races go green with a lot of laps, and we've seen a couple of races like the last one where we've had cautions breeding cautions. So we'll see how this one shakes out on lap number 31. Looks like the lights atop the pace car are off, and we'll get ready to go green next time by.
Big thing to point out, there are no daredevils who decide to stay out and forego service at all. Couple of cars just now catching up to the back of the field, the likes of Sherburne and some other guys trying to get maybe some damage repaired. But other than that, pretty universal on the decision. 4 tires and fuel. Drivers only lost and or gained positions based on how clean they were on a pit road. And again, at a green flag condition, small mistake in the pit lane costs you half a second. It's not that big of a deal. Well, that half a second under yellow flag conditions means about 6 or 7 spots on the grid. So an example of the 24 Leahy, he's going to restart in 18th position after being in the top 10 for the entirety of this race thus far. Still well over 130 laps to go after an early caution flag. The pace car is going to head down and in, and Michael Conti is really going to get an opportunity to set off here. Sees the control car headed at a turn number 4, looking for the first restart on the night. American Ethanol green flag in the air. We're back off and away. Good jump inside and out. Schoenberg going to defend P2, and here comes Ottinger flipping the script. Corey Vincent, who didn't get going all that well on the inside, the fight for third.
There's fights all around this place. The 46 of Clampett on the back bumper, the 10 of Vincent. Ray Alfala is going to clear the 6 of Luza. To the inside he goes on Taylor Hurst. Nice little crossover move to get to the inside for the 2 car as they come up out of corner number 4. Top 3 or so are single file. Then it's Davies and Vincent going to duke it out for position number 4. There's Alfala hard on the bumper of Hurst as he almost got sideways and into the 6. They keep it straight. We stay green.
So far, so good, and you see the battles up front. You can see that water shot down the back straightaway. Tons of fighting going on all the way throughout the pack, but that lead battle is with Clampett in the 46, trying to get up around Taylor Hurst. But again, I think that outside's going to be the place to be, especially on brand new tires, and it will be. You go on board with Clampett, who does have to tuck back in line in P7. Hurst holds on, and now aggressive dive to the inside, so close to Corey Vincent. That onboard was a great look at it as Hurst dove to the inside. It's not going to work out for him, and he will scramble to get back up in front of the 46 before Clampett jumped all over him. But Taylor Hurst feeling aggressive early on. Now he'll look to the outside. The 10 slides up and shuts the door there also.
Taylor Hurst is on the move here this evening to the inside. He's going to get the nose there through the double dog leg and down into corner number 1. Taylor Hurst is going to try to pick up 1 and almost 2 as it looked like he was going to the inside of Davies. Up the racetrack he goes. Vincent going to get that run at a corner number 2, and here comes Logan Clampett. What can Clampett do on the 74 of Hurst as they dive it down into corner number 3? 46 points into the inside. Don't think he's going to get there at a corner number 4, but Hurst was charging. He's going to end up losing that 1 spot to Vincent and fall back to 6th.
He does fall back into the number 6 position, and tells me that it's going to be an ever-revolving door. Seems like right there at around P5, we've seen a ton of action so far this evening. A couple more cars trying to play down on the inside. You see the lead, the 15 division is Zach Novak. He'll also tuck back up in line. So these drivers very aware that they're going to try to make a move. Doesn't matter if it's inside or outside of a team. As soon as they know they're not completing that pass, it's not like they're forcing the issue and staying down low. They want to get back up in line. I think that's mainly for drivers who challenge low. As you see Colton Davis trying to go to the inside on Busa, can't do it, immediately jumps up top. I don't think these drivers want to allow anybody to get on their outside. You'll see it here with Busa, trying to make a move on Novak, cannot do it, and the 11 tries to get up high, but the 34 slides in front of him. Very territorial, not letting anybody get on the outside.
Especially early on this restart where every position is key and everybody's tucked up tight to each other. Just ahead of them, the 15 of Novak. You see him, the white car, 2 cars up. There's the 12, and there is the 2. It's Shelton and Alfala and Ryan Luza. Really not having the night we usually expect. Usually he's up in the top 5, maybe battling for the lead position at this point in the race, but right now sitting back in position number 8 as he has a battle behind him in the Shelton and Novak side by side. In front of him, he sees the 10 side by side with Taylor Hurst in the 74. Vincent trying to clear the 74 up at a corner number 4, and it looks like he's going to get there. 74 of Hurst going to fall back one spot, and battles all over this racetrack. You really have to set somebody up here to try to make the move. Now Hurst going to point that nose to the outside of Vincent.
Yeah, as soon as he looked to the outside, though, didn't really get a good run off of the corner. Vincent actually pulled him at a car length that time at a 2. That maybe he was going to make a dive on Davies, and Davies is kind of the ringleader here. There's a little bit of a gap between him and Nick Ottinger in front of him, but you can see that long line of cars that trails the 13 as Davies has got a lot going on in his rear view mirror. There you can see the separation to Conti a little bit ahead of the fight for second between Schoenberg and Ottinger, and then everybody else continues to dance mid-pack on back, and that's what's so fun about Atlanta. It's one of those racetracks where, despite the fact that it doesn't have the official, progressive banking, you're able to make it work both inside and out. I still think the outside's going to be the place to be, especially when we get more rubber put down on this racetrack as this race goes on, and that line's only going to get higher and higher up. But you can't say there's not opportunities. It certainly may be difficult to complete a pass as Hurst looks to the inside, but there's no shortage of chances as we go side by side. That one for P5.
And he drove it in deep to the middle of 1 and 2, and that thing just did not stick. Vincent had enough real estate on the outside line to make sure the 74 of Hurst did not get that run out of corner number 2. He'll have to fall back behind the 10 and try to set it up again. And Hurst has tried on multiple laps since we refired this race at about lap 32, about 10 laps ago, where he's gone to the inside. He's got to the door of the 10 of Vincent, just hasn't been able to make the move. You have to believe the 74, as he was charging up to the front of the field, might be a little bit frustrated, but at this point, it is still early in this race, and I'm sure Taylor Hurst is learning some things about where you can set up the pass, where you can't set up the pass, but for the most part, a couple of drivers picking their spots, everybody else single file trying to log some laps here.
And that's the objective. When we come to these 1.5 mile racetracks, right in that 167 lap range, we've seen it in some of the past weeks here. It's the regular distance that we see on Tuesdays at 250 miles, places like Texas, and earlier in the year, Chicago's, the Charlottes, and the Kansases and whatnot. It is a long way to go. So when we do see these drivers being very aggressive early on, and it doesn't seem like a whole lot of drivers are that concerned with conserving tires out of the gate, there is an objective to get deeper into this race before we really start going at it. I don't think a ton of yellows early benefits anybody. Everybody wants to be able to get to at least one green flag pit stop. That the way they'll know what their car's going to do in a really any situation, from the freshest of tires to the oldest they're going to be before you do decide to come down to the pit lane. That's going to help everybody out in the long run. So you are seeing the side by side, but at the same time, I think drivers being smart enough to the point where they're not getting too out of hand yet, as we again see Vincent and Hurst exchange a couple of moves. Hurst around the 10 going to take away P5 this time, and something tells me that that's probably not going to be the only time these two swap it out. They've had a couple of exchanges for position already.
The 10 was a little free on the outside line, which allowed Hurst to complete that pass, and now the 10 falls in behind the 74 of Hurst, and Hurst goes to work on Davies. That is now a battle for position number 4. We'll see how long it takes Hurst to get by Davies. It took him about 10 laps or so to get by Vincent. It might only take him about 2 here, as he gets a great run off corner number 4, charges down the front straightaway, and Hurst may have that spot. Davies fighting back on the outside, but it's all for naught. Hurst going to move to position number 4.
That's the spot that Hurst had been trying to get. He would have passed Vincent, but he wouldn't have been able to get around Davies, and finally he takes it away. Taylor Hurst now at a race-high P4 at lap number 46. This portion of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Peak Antifreeze and Coolant, the official antifreeze of NASCAR and the proud title sponsor of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing series. And fittingly that we're watching a battle with that number 10 peak entry, Corey Vincent, who a little bit slow into turn 1. Everybody checked up behind him. Clampett almost tagged him. You can see the 6 dive high, the 11 to Davis dive low. As the 10 tries to get around Davies, maybe Davies rattle a little bit. The 10 can take advantage of that, because Hurst is showing that he does have a faster car. Once he was able to get on a bye, he's pulled a couple of car lengths. So again, Davies the one in front of that big long line of cars that eventually is going to come to bite you.
We talked about a couple of drivers potentially playing spoiler here this evening. We might see one emerging in the 74 of Taylor Hurst, but look at this mess as they battle for just inside the top 10 or so. Colton Davis trying to come to the front of the field. Ryan Luza will clear him. Here comes Novak to the outside in front of them. Corey Vincent as Logan Clampett to the inside. These guys are not wasting any time. Matt Busa, a part of this battle as well, trying to creep his way into the top 10 after starting deep in this 30-car field. You ride on board as you see the 11 of Davis to the inside of the 15 of Novak, and just behind the 2 of Ray Alfala in the rearview mirror.
And Ray's up a couple of the spots. We mentioned him looking for a little bit extra. Came into tonight ahead of Leahy in the championship picture. The difference between those two on the playoff grid was simply 2 points. But earlier in this race, Leahy was running in front of Alfala by 3 positions. At the moment, Alfala is outrunning Leahy by those 3 positions. So Ray now goes back above the cut line, currently 4th in the live standings. And Leahy then trickles back down below to P5. And again, Tim, this is all because of that mistake that the 24 made on pit lane last time under caution flag conditions. He fell all the way to 18th. I have no doubt Keegan Leahy's got a fast car. We saw him dabbling in the top 5, but he's been only able to get 4 spots back since restarting. So maybe that virtual racing school machine not as good in all of this traffic as it was when he was closer to the front.
Let's play devil's advocate here. This thing goes green the rest of the way. You lost that time on that caution flag, and it equates to time on the racetrack under green. I'm assuming that Keegan Leahy is thinking that we're going to have another caution or 2 in this one, but we have seen green flag running in these races in the past. So keep an eye on that 24 and see what he can do inroads-wise for his playoff chances at Atlanta Motor Speedway. The 6 on the outside of Ryan Luza going to clear the 11 of Davis. Here comes Novak to the outside. Novak going to try to pick up 1 more position, and they're lining up behind. There's Busa, and now Ray Alfala takes it to the inside of the 2.
He also dives to the inside. It's he, Davis, and Clampett all down low. And the 11 machine might be the one in a tricky spot here because Davis wanted to pass Luza. That's not going to happen. And then by diving down low, he's opened up the outside. Zach Novak has filled that gap. Boost is right there. And if Ray Alfala quits trying to go to the inside, they might be able to pin the 11 out, but that's not on the forefront with the 34 ones. How about some 3 wide? Busa thinks about it and then rolls out of the throttle at the last minute. He'll still make an aggressive charge, but it certainly looked like they were going to go in there 3 apiece in that battle for P10, and they decide otherwise. They'll retreat to 2 by 2, and there's that spot open up on the outside as Davis gets back in line.
34 of Busa, though, continues to work the inside of the 15 of Novak. Ray Alfala has lined up to the outside. Nick Shelton right behind him as you ride on board with the red number 2 of Alfala. Now takes a peek to the inside of the 15 of Zach Novak to try to make something happen there for a spot. And in front, they fan out. Michael Conti continues to lead up in front. His lead is 1.5 seconds. Ottinger and Schoenberg positions 2 and 3. And looking back, your top 5 positions, there's really no sense of urgency there right now, Evan. The 46 of Clampett, taking a look at the 10 of Corey Vincent. That's her position number 6. But other than that, the first real good battle on the racetrack is this one on your screen. Alfala and Novak side by side.
Ray looking really to take advantage of this. He seems to be a lot better on this longer run, longest run of the race that we are working now, about equidistance to what we saw before that caution flag came out. So driver's going to slowly start to enter uncharted territories, but the 2 may be very good on the longer end of a run. Takes him a little bit to get the wheels going, maybe spins the tires a bit right out of the gate, but he's looking pretty decent at the moment. Novak is going to be able to defend. The 2 jumps up in line and awfully close to one another as he tried to get a little bit of a side draft there. Slingshot down to the inside. He was all over that left rear quarter panel of the 15 machine, and now that he gets to the inside, they'll go at it again side by side. I have to wonder though, Tim, for as many times as the 15 nearly gets the wall that time, and it'll give the 2 a run down to the 3. If I'm Ray Alfala, how many times can I throw the car to the inside before I eat up the tires? And how about a slide job at 160 miles an hour right up in front of the nose? That's one way to get the job done. Alfala takes P11.
That's called clear enough right there. The 2 of Alfala slid up And now the 15 gets that run, just dives it down into corner number 1 and 2. Going to try to clear the 2 of Alfala. Don't think he's going to get there, but man, that thing cut really well to the inside, down into 1. But it's all going to be for naught, at least at this point. 15 continues to work the inside. Novak going to try to pick up that spot. And as they've battled Evan, it's closed in, Nick Show. It's closed in. Here comes Keegan Leahy. And if they continue to battle, Blake Reynolds, Jimmy Mullis, Michael Guest going to be here sooner rather than later, as the 15 going to lose a couple spots on the inside. Keegan Leahy goes around on the outside, as does Nick Show.
And this could really be an interesting battle if this is taking place in a couple of weeks' time, because Nick Ottinger, your second-place runner at the moment, came into tonight 13 points behind Alfala, but runs 11 positions in front of him on the track. So while this is not the elimination race, if we had a very similar situation in 2 weeks' time at Dover, you could be talking about Alfala and Leahy racing around each other on track for what could be that final transfer spot into the playoffs. That's why this elimination format, and most importantly, an automatic win and you're in part of it all, makes things so interesting, is keeping an eye on those ever-evolving points. I think at the live points would still have Ray Alfala P4 at the moment. Leahy would then be in the number 6 position, because I think Ottinger may have leapfrogged him running P2. So there's a lot going on right now. Ray to lie on that cut line. I know there's a long way to go still, but the 05's really having a great run right now. He's been able to get back up in front of Schoenberg as we take a look at the battle for second position. Brian Schoenberg was able to make the move. We saw that off of the restart, thought, okay, now maybe here's the opportunity for that 55 to get off and get going. Not going to be the case. The gap between first and second still 1.8 seconds. So everybody in the top 3 looks pretty even right now as you look out of the back end of the 05 of Ottinger.
At the end of the day, you control your own destiny. Yes, it'd be nice to go to win one of these races and lock yourself into Homestead, but if you can't get as many points as you can, and right now that's what Ottinger's doing, he's getting as many points as he can without winning a race in position number 2, looking back to Schoenberg, and then that little hornet's nest that's starting to form for position number 4 on back. Taylor Hurst has about a car length or so on Brad Davies, another car length or so back to the 10 of Corey Vincent, 2 back to the 46 of Logan Clampett. It was side by side for the most part in this battle. It looks like it's subsided to single file, with the exception of those 2 right behind Clampett. It's the 6 of Luza and Busa. Taking a look to the inside, the 11 of Davis, also a part of this little foray as they dive it down into corner number 1. Busa gets a great entrance on that inside, down into 1. He may be able to clear the 6 if he can slide up. Gonna let him have the lane. The 6 gonna go back to the outside.
Outside is going to be with the 6 lines up, and it was also a pass for P2, very similar to the battle that we had just been watching. You now see it's the 55 of Schoenberg in front of Ottinger, almost identical to that pass that Luza had made. You go to the inside of the racetrack, you slide up off of the corner, and not necessarily a full-on slide job to the point where we got to start yelling about it, but it is still a slide job, I guess, in effect, and it is going to put Schoenberg back up into the number 2 spot. Not enough progress center on for the 10 of Vincent, so he'll have to, again, deal with that lesser of a run off of the corner. If you can get up in front of the guy, it doesn't matter if you're slower on exit. You basically go to throw the blocker, you dare them to go for the crossover, and then who knows what happens when you get back down to 3 and 4, but not meant to be that time. But all these drivers, Hurst, Davies, Vincent, Clampett, Luza, they've been fighting non-stop as we see the first driver head down to the safety of the pit lane. And how about that call? Michael Conti from the race lead, Tim. This reminds me of what we saw out of that car on the playoff opener at Darlington. We kept questioning those second and third place cars. Do you short pit, undercut the 5 so that you can maybe get something for him? And he was able to prevent anybody from making that move because it was Conti who kicked off the pit stops nearly every single time. Well, Schoenberg's got no interest in pitting, so once again, Michael Conti from the lead, going to kick off green flag pit stops.
And you would think with the technical alliance that Brian Schoenberg, Nick Ottinger, and Michael Conti, along with Matt Busa, do share, you would see those cars down on pit road around the same time. But Pat Millay calling the audible by the sounds of it and bringing in Michael Conti to pit road. And about 34 laps or so since we last came down pit road under the caution front flag. So keep that in mind as we work forward here in this one. About half of a fuel, half of a tire run on the first run, or first stint under green for Michael Conti, and he's flying by, guys. Brand new tires mean a lot here in Atlanta.
Currently, you'll see just how fast he is. Now, the risk Conti takes by pitting early is, again, he is a lap down. The car he just passed, 18th position to Bobby Zalenski. The next cars he's going to pass. Look how fast he comes up. There goes Blake Reynolds. There goes Phil Diaz. It's incredible how much faster you are on the fresh tires, but Conti's got a long way to go to unlap himself. Look at that, to the outside on the 27 machine, making all these cars look like a joke. That's because the slowest lap that we saw to Mike Conti before he came down to the pit lane and got those fresh tires was a 41.2 on the entry, but it was 31.6 under the green flag at full speed. Right now, 29.6. You're talking about 2 seconds a lap, and look at him blow by all these cars. Just now passing Luza, who's in P10. Once the 5 passes your race leader, he'll be in the clear. But there's always a risk if a caution to flag comes out now. He gets trapped a lap down. This is a ton of fun to watch, though, as we're on board with him.
But if anybody can do it, it's Michael Conti. He's safe. He's locked into the playoff finale at the Homestead Miami Speedway. So trying something a little bit different here, maybe as he gets up close to the wall in the 5, and he'll clear Davies, he'll clear Hurst, and close in on those in front of him. I don't know how this strategy is going to work, Evan, because when you look at it, you have, if you short pit, it might be a little bit slower than those guys that are going to do that run or run and a half, but at the end of the day, with that 30 laps that we completed before that run, it's going to change some things. There's the leader on the outside, and Michael Conti will blow by and get his lap back on Brian Schoenberg. I'm not sure how this strategy is going to work, but Conti's making it look good in the early laps.
The concern here is, nobody else has come down to the pit lane at all. I mean, it's just Michael Conti who has pitted. Back to the point I made about Darlington, he kicked off the cycle of pit stops, yeah, but, everybody would come down within 4 or 5 laps of that, and then you would see the bulk of the green flag pit stop. So the fact that nobody else is biting, it has to be concerning to the 5. Again, you can stick to your guns, and you run your race. Maybe if this race goes green to the end, 1 less pit stop than everybody else, that's the call you make, that's the call you got to go with. Just when it's 1 versus 29, things don't look all that great, but we'll see how it works out. Conti is back to the lead lap, and he currently runs 29th of 29 cars on the lead lap. Chris Overland is out of this race after getting contact earlier. He runs P30, only car behind the wall thus far.
Up in front continues to be Brian Schoenberg showing the way. The 05 of Ottinger in position number 2, about 4 lengths back, and Ottinger is on that extreme high side, trying to pick up some time on the 55, who was on that white line through 1 and 2 that last time by. They have about a second and a half or so back to Taylor Hurst, who runs in position number 3. Logan Clampett and Brad Davies completes your top 5 at this point, and Davies working that high side, trying to get around Logan Clampett. Nothing going to happen there at a corner number 4, but Davies trying a separate line compared to some of those drivers that he's running with.
Just trying to mix it up, and maybe that's all you can hope for when you get this late into a run. And I don't think Logan Clampett's been any more than 2 car lengths away as the 13 spins. Brad Davies going to come back up into traffic. He'll collect Corey Vincent, the 11 of Colton Davis, and involved is championship competitor Keegan Leahy. You see the damage on the number 24 Chevrolet. Comes into tonight just below the cut line. He gets involved in the wreck. As we take a look at the RaceSpot TV replay, it all started with Davies. Sideways at a 2, started on his own, got finished off by the 11 who had nowhere to go, and it was the 11 machine who spun down the racetrack. It's Colton Davis who spins out of control. Keegan Leahy tries to escape it on the inside of the racetrack, and it doesn't work. You watch the 11 slide down, and there's the contact on the far right-hand side of your screen. Big playoff implications.
And you see Davies there trying to chase that car and goes up the racetrack. I think he may have barely scraped the wall into corner number 1, trying to get that wide entry in, and I don't know if that helped or hurt him at all, but thing just got away from him in the 13th and back up into traffic. And man, that 24 Keegan Leahy, that's pretty much going to put him in a win and you're in situation for Dover. And we talked earlier about Dover being unpredictable at best. Keegan Leahy going to have to be up on the wheel next week. Speaking about up on the wheel, some pit stops going to happen here with Brian Schoenberg leading the field down.
And up on the wheel, you look on the board with Keegan Leahy. Here's the view that he had of that accident. You're going to see the smoke of the car start to spin. He goes down low. He follows the car in front of him. Both cars in front of him make it through. He does not. He gets involved in that accident. And fittingly enough, as we see drivers head back down to the pit lane, Tim, I know it's impossible to predict what's going to happen in a race like this. However, if Keegan Leahy doesn't make that mistake, I don't think he's back there or not involved in that accident. A 3-wide race off of the pit lane, and Brian Schoenberg is no longer going to be a race leader. Logan Clampett again clutch on pit stops. Bests everybody else with his 4-tire stop, and it looks like that Toyota is going to head to the point.
And I thought Brian Schoenberg was going to win this race off pit road, but he kind of breaks traction coming off of the pit road, and just after the pit stalls, the thing was still kind of sideways a little bit, and really couldn't get any grip coming off, and that will be the difference between himself starting first and starting second. He and Nick Ottinger almost a photo finish off pit road. It looks like the 55 is going to win that race off as they pace off of corner number 4, but Logan Clampett in the clutch once again, going to restart this race up in front, and just under 100 laps left to go in this one, and Logan Clampett trying to go back-to-back here in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
That would be the ultimate spoiler, to not make it into the playoffs by just that little bit, and then to go back-to-back once you get there. We talk about drivers, pushing the issue. Pit road speed here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, 52 miles an hour, but there is a little bit of leeway. Clock Logan Clampett at 52 that time. He timed it obviously perfectly. I think sometimes you get up to 3 miles an hour of a leniency, and of course it is the average of the speed throughout that section of the pit lane there. So the 46 got everything he could out of it, absolutely, and that is how he will bring us back to the green flag as the race leader for the first time tonight. And when we go back to all those battles that we were talking about with him, Tim, can't get away from the cars around him, probably side by side every other lap. Breaking through now and getting himself into the clean air going to be big for that car.
Sometimes it's easier to be lucky than good, and right now Logan Clampett has been a little bit of both so far in these last couple of rounds. And when you look at this playoff picture right now, Nick Ottinger looking good. There's Matt Busa in position number 5 as they pace back there, but Michael Conti once again, that pit stop strategy, if it would have went green, and it looked like it was going to go green, it would have paid off for him, but Michael Conti sitting back mid-pack right now, so he's got some work to do, and that will be one to watch as we get ready to go back to the green flag. The lights atop the pace car are off, so we'll go green next time by.
And the good news again, Michael Conti, if you weren't with us a couple of weeks ago, won at Darlington for the playoff opener first race on this round of 8. He is guaranteed a spot in the championship 4, so it doesn't hurt quite as badly as it would be if he wasn't in that spot. Still no fun, though, as Michael Conti is going to have to restart 21st position. It may give us a good look, though, as we'll watch that 5 try to fight back up to the field. Still shy of halfway, so a ton of time still to go from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. But that's the look out in front of Michael Conti. A lot of cars in between him in the front row, which he occupied 76 laps ago to this point after qualifying on a pole position. So second race start due up on the evening, and it is the first time we will see that number 46 Toyota of Logan Clampett be the control car. Brian Schoenberg to his outside. Always a fun battle to watch, the battle between outside of the front row P2 and inside of row 2 P3 to see how they negotiate that. The outside was pretty good the last time it restarts. That's not always the case here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll see if there's any tire spin and how all of this plays off as we get set to race back down into turn at number 1. A pace car going to dive down to the way. Logan Clampett puts the right foot down, no hesitation. Green flying back in the air with 76 laps complete. Clampett going to lead off to turn 1. Schoenberg slides in safely P2.
And the battle's going to be for position number 4 now as Busa tries to clear the 74 of Hurst on the outside. Remember how good Hurst was in the early run of that last green flag stint. He's going to go to the outside. He's going to bring Luza along with him. There's Ray Alfalo right behind them, picking up a spot. So Busa going to lose a couple to those outside drivers, but keep an eye on Hurst. If he is as good as he was on the early run on that second green flag run, he might be battling for the lead before this thing's all said and done here in the next 10 laps or so.
See if he can make that work. He would certainly enjoy that as he tries to work up on the inside of Luza. Luza up on the outside. Not going to happen. They tuck back in line and single file things out. The Schoenberg and Ottinger saga, though, going to continue the 05 to the inside. This time it's a fight for second position, and it's going to happen pretty uneventfully. The 05 gets him, no real challenge off of the corner, and all of a sudden Nick Ottinger's back to second, Brian Schoenberg in third, and It's another one of those groups of 2 or 3 that just can't get away from each other. They haven't been split up either. It's been those 2 back and forth, but that might change. Here comes Taylor Hurst on the outside. It's the 74 with a big run now. Down to turn 3. He's on the outside and should give him an opportunity to get the run off of quarter 4. We'll see if that's the case. 55 a little bit squirrely in. And I think Hurst is going to be able to set him up and take P3. We'll see.
Schoenberg slid the rear end a little bit there in corner number 3 to the inside, and he'll fall back one more spot. The 6 of Ryan Luza next up in line. Schoenberg gets a great run middle of the corner, but slides it once again off corner number 2. Almost slides up in front of the 6. Luza is there. The fast track Sims number 6 going to try to get that run on the outside and try to pick up one more spot, but Taylor Hurst once again moving quickly towards the front of the field, sitting in position number 3. The battle behind him, Luza trying to clear Schoenberg. Schoenberg trying to hold on to position number 4.
Trying to play defense at the time being, but it is Schoenberg who again seems to be going the wrong direction since the restart. Ottinger passed him, Hurst passed him, and Luza is now clear. See how close they cut it to the wall as they come flying of a quarter number 2. So Schoenberg does fall to P5. He does have a spot back up in line now, though. So the next challenger going to come from Busa. Fast car tonight. In fact, I would argue one of the fastest, and he is your biggest mover. That Busa started this race in 25th position and runs in P6. It's been an incredible drive thus far. He's not the only driver who's made up a ton of spots. Joe Lotteriello, haven't talked much about the 57. He's gone 24th to 12th, and Phil Diaz has gone 26th to 14th. So a couple of cars really into the green. Matt Busa, the best of them all thus far.
Busa doing a great job right now in position at number 6 and trying to get himself a little bit closer towards the front of the field as he saw Schoenberg fall back to position number 5 and begins to reel in the Heyman Hustle number 55. Up in front, Nick Ottinger continues to hound the 46 and clamping for the lead, but here comes Taylor Hurst. Hurst is good on that short run, and now he is here battling for the lead position on lap number 83 of 167 in the second half of this race. We'll see if Taylor Hurst can put himself at the front of the field and win a race and possibly play spoiler to some of these playoff contenders.
Always the hope is just to get in there, mix things up, and the beauty of the way this playoff format works is, we start just right into the round of 8. Don't worry about there at about 16 cars or so, but we don't kick everybody else off of the racetrack and have only the top 8 race. You do have to deal with those other 22 cars on a racetrack every single night, in and night out. Is Ottinger to the inside, side by side for the race lead. Think it's going to be short-lived, though. The 05 really didn't get down into the quarter like I think he wanted to, and you'll have to worry about it the next time off into the quarter. But I think Ottinger and Hurst have something for the 46. Clampett not strolling away out front like we saw Conti, but a fight for second, it might work good for him. Here comes Hurst to the inside, tight, and he's got to roll out of the throttle before he wipes out the 05.
Ottinger had a great run in that 46 of Clampett, just couldn't get that run down to the inside, couldn't time it right, I don't think, had that run, but really had to do something with it instead of sticking in behind, but he learned something, I'm sure, there. The 05 goes back to the inside through the double dog leg and tries to get a run on that 46 of Clampett. Won't do anything here down into corner number 1, but those top 3 continue to duke it out. I think Logan Clampett saw what he saw behind him and maybe turned the wick up just a little bit. He's now got about a car length or so in the 05 of Ottinger, but Ottinger had a great exit to turn 2, close that gap to 1 car length down into 3.
Close the gap in piece by piece, and Taylor Hurst, if he's not going inside or out on somebody, he's got an opportunity to really enjoy this. He has a little bit of gap back to lose, but again, we're not seeing the top 3 get away like they did earlier in this race. It's just like it has been around 5th and 10th all night that it is up front right now, and that is no more than maybe 2 or 3 car lengths between the positions all the way through the field. So certainly a lot of good racing thus far this evening from Atlanta. A couple of laps ago, though, just now crossing the halfway point in tonight's Atlanta 250. I'm going to take this opportunity to take a look top to bottom at our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the leading online racing simulation developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks from all around the globe. And in the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is a one-stop shop for online racing with officially sanctioned series by the likes of NASCAR and many more. At lap number 88, Logan Clamp, it is your race leader from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. He hosts a 1/10 of a second advantage over Nick Ottinger, who sits P2. You see the plus minus on the left-hand side of your screen. Taylor Hurst right now runs in third position, with Ryan Luza having trickled back to fourth, and Ryan Schoenberg rounding out your top 5. Matt Busa, biggest mover, up 19 spots. He runs in position 6. Zach Novak behind him scored in 7th position. You got Jimmy Mullis in 8th, Ray Alfala in 9th, and Nicholas Shelton rounding out your top 10.
And Blake Reynolds going to close in 11th, change for position number 12. Casey Kerwin makes his way by Bobby Zielinski. Joe Letteriello in 14th place, and Phil Diaz in 15th. There's Michael Conti coming back to the front of the field as you see that exchange for position number 2 up in front. Taylor Hurst is going to try to go to the inside of Nick Ottinger, and he will do so. Conti is going to move back behind Letteriello for position number 15. I believe Phil Diaz just lost that spot to move to 16th, and he's going to lose one more to Michael Guest. Here he goes to the inside. Christian Chalner all by himself in 18th. Chris Sherburne in 19th, and David Rattler just lost 20th to Ryan Lowe.
They can't promise you they'll play nice. That's what we've got the intervals up at the top of the screen all the way through. But Rattler now occupies the number 21 spot. Andrew Fayash back in 22nd. He continues to fall after starting inside of the top 10. Marcus Richardson's 23rd, with Casey Tucker and Corey Vincent rounding out your top 25. All the way back now, P26 is Brad Davies. Adam Gilliland is 27th. Colton Davis damaged in 28th. And Keegan Leahy in the number 24, trying to get home, damaged also. Playoff competitor, going to lose a lot of points tonight. He scored 29th. He is the last car on track because Chris Overland at the bottom, he scored 30th position. That car has already retired from this race. That's been a look at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com to sign up today. And if you're looking to get involved in iRacing for the first time, going over to iRacing.com/membership, you can get up to 40% off a new iRacing subscription. That's anything from 3 months to 2 years in length. 40% off. That promo is valid on a new membership only. So for more information, head on to iRacing.com/membership and get involved today. And it means as we enter the second part of the race, this portion of tonight's broadcast brought to you by Herculiner Bedliner. The tough comes easy. And we continue to see a couple of tough battles on track, including the fight for second you look at right now. How about Schoenberg flashing it over to the inside of Luz and not cooking yet, but the top 5 still very active as we start to count down to the end now.
With the run that Ottinger had on Taylor Hurst, I thought he was going to take position number 2. You rode on board that last lap with Ottinger and really had a great run at a 2 and down the back straightaway. Here comes Busa taking a look to the inside of the double nickel of Brian Schoenberg. That is for position number 5. Busa continues his run towards the front of the field, and you start thinking about points. Logan Clampett, Taylor Hurst up in front. If they win this race, that means another driver in the playoffs is going to get in by points, and you'd have to think Matt Busa would be one of those drivers that's looking for that, as Ryan Luza slams the door in front of the 34 of Busa in corner number 2. Right now, Busa into the top 5 for the first time this evening. After starting 25th, he's up 20 and looking for one more.
Well, you need one more. Get that final position to be able to pick it on up, and one at a time. It's funny because you can spend 10 laps, 15 laps just trying to get one position. You make one small mistake in the corner, 3-4 cars blowing by you. That's just the way it works when you're talking about the top level of oval sim racing. And at 34, Abusa being awfully brave. I don't think a lot of drivers have been as friendly with that flat of the racetrack all the way down on the apron as the 34 has been, but he's certainly going about as low as anybody as he takes that higher line in 3 and 4. Likes to go low, though. You'll see it as he heads down to the other side of the track in 1 and 2, at least when he's trying to get around Luza in the number 6 car. And see, the 6 isn't going down and blocking Tim. He's doing the best to just run his own line. He'll come down a little bit, take that line away from the 34, but he's not blocking on the straightaways. He's just taking that line away in the quarter. Makes it awfully hard for Busa to do what he wants, but he's right there on the quarter panel. He'll go to the inside, and we've got a fight for P4 on our hands. Busa on the inside of Luza right now. This one for 4th and 5th.
And now the 6 going to have to go to the outside. The 34 of Busa tries that inside and keep a half eye on the battle for the lead as well, Evan. The 74 of Taylor Hurst has turned up the wick these last couple laps and on the back bumper of the Richmond Raceway. Number 46 of Logan Clampett and Nick Ottinger rim riding behind there, trying to pick up a little bit of time. And I was about to say, first run of this race around 30 laps, the second run of this race around 40 laps. We've gone about 20 since we restarted this race, so about halfway through, and this is where Taylor Hurst's race car, I don't want to say falls off, but maybe those cars get a little bit better that are racing around him. The 05 of Ottinger, you right on board. Little kiss to the back bumper of the 74. This is about the time where Taylor Hurst's car maybe, falls off a little bit compared to those other cars around him, and right now he's not showing any fraying about 20 or so laps into this run.
Yeah, so far he looks pretty good right now, right there at P2, and certainly the 05 of Ottinger is working a lot harder than Hurst is. Hurst is kind of just doing his own thing. The 05 nipping at his ankles, but so far unable to complete that pass as Ottinger tries to get back up into the number 2 position. And for all of this, Logan Clampett, for only being, 1/10, 2/10 of a second in front of those two cars, is pretty much remained out of this thing. That funny for second has done a very good job of giving the 46 a little bit of breathing room, albeit it's probably a microscopic amount of it. But a couple of laps ago, we were talking about those 3 cars all battling for the race lead, and then all of a sudden they start fighting for second, and they haven't stopped since then. Another side-by-side battle with Ottinger on the inside, and he got sideways. That can't be good for the tires, and this is exactly what Clampett wants to see. If they're fighting with each other, they're not coming after you.
And Ottinger had that little bit of a slide, and it looked like he was going to get some forward momentum, and then out of the double dog leg, it didn't really help him continue to slide back. And now the 74 of Taylor Hurst sets his sights on the 46 of Logan Clampett. Clampett has been steady up in front, hasn't really had a challenge here in the last 15 laps or so, but now he's got the 74 of Hurst. Can Hurst make a move? The 46 looks to the outside, the 74 to the inside. Can he get there? We'll be side by side down into corner number 1. Taylor Hurst trying to go to the lead position for the first time tonight.
He looks so good on the dive down into 1, but Logan Clampett is so strong at the exit that I don't think the 74 is going to have much to work with at the far end of the racetrack. Not even a move to the inside. Hurst comes up, not wanting Ottinger to jump on him, and it is going to be a successful defense of the race lead by Logan Clampett. Again, that 46 took over the top spot on pit road. First time he'd really been challenged, and he was able to hold him off. We'll see how long it takes for Hurst to go again. He looks to the inside in turn 1, and he's got a nose there, but again, the 46 not worried about blocking the inside. He's too good on exit again for Hurst to stick with him.
And now Ottinger gets the run into corner number 2 as they slid up a little bit. The 05 of Ottinger had a head of steam down to corner number 2 and points into the inside in 3. I don't think he's going to be able to make a move here off of 4, but he continues to be to the inside and put up a challenge for the 74 of Taylor Hurst. Hurst going to go back to position number 2 comfortably all by himself. The 05 will reset, but we've seen it before. If that 74 can get up to the 46, Hurst battling with Clampett, you better believe that Ottinger's going to get a run. If they continue to do that, Ottinger will probably have something for these top 2 for the lead.
Question now becomes, if you're Taylor Hurst trying to hang on to this, you talk about Ottinger, Boost, and some of the other drivers that it makes. You've been able to get basically alongside nose-to-nose with Logan Clampett and then unable to complete the pass. What is it going to take to make the difference? It's not like it was close. I mean, he gets to the inside, sure, and he'll look again, but the 46 noticeably better off the corner. So are you going to have to wait for the 46 to make a mistake? He wasn't that good that time, and the 74 is going to be able to keep those on the inside down to 3 to 4. We haven't seen them side by side at this end of the racetrack. Hurst better make it work, though, because Ottinger's filled that spot up top. So the 74 is going to be pinned down to the inside, and he bobbles. That inside of turn 4 on exit is oh so loose, and I'm impressed Hurst is still there. That was a big wobble, but the battle for the race lead continues as Ottinger goes way high.
Ottinger almost had that thing pointed towards the infield. He bows out of the battle for the time being. Once again, trying to get that run. He'll go to the inside. The 74 kind of came up the racetrack a little bit, and now Hurst will have Ottinger to the inside. Nick Ottinger in the Federated Auto Parts 400-05 will look to take position number 2. And oh, by the way, guys, here comes Matt Busa. Busa has a run. Ottinger gets sideways. The 34 points it towards the inside.
You saw that other big bobble again, just that inside on 4 does not work, and Ottinger goes up top for a little bit of space, and at 34, a boosted out inside of the racetrack. He comes alongside. Look at the speed difference, though. I think Nick Ottinger was completely behind Busa on exit, and he just about cleared him down to 3, so he made up 2 car lengths entirely on the length of the back straightaway, and he's able to keep it in the throttle that time, so he gets back up and around, and Busa again tries, but unsuccessfully, to make a move, and will sit P4, but again, for as good as his 34 has been after starting P25, that tells me he's not going to go away anytime soon. But I think Clampett might have weathered the storm for the time being. He's got a few car lengths on Hurst. Any small bobble brings all those cars right back into this thing, but just continue to be impressed by how good this racing is up front, top to bottom. We've had short runs, Tim, we've had long runs, including this one, and at no point has the action settled down at all.
And you saw the speed shots there, and you saw the look back from the 46 of Clampett. Those top 4 were battling at one point for the lead amongst themselves, but it's included now Brian Schoenberg, Michael Conti, Jimmy Mullis. You look back there, there's some drivers that are now a part of this battle for the lead that weren't 15 laps to go. 74 of Hurst once again to the inside, tries to get that run. I don't think he's going to have enough steam to try to make it work on the inside. The 46 of Clampett going to clear him again off corner number 4, and here comes Ottinger. As Ottinger sees that happen in front of him, he gets that run. Not enough to get there, though. The 74 of Hurst will go back to the attack to the inside, and can't get there this time. The 46 will have that run off corner number 2.
We saw Michael Conti, but he led this race earlier on, and again he stepped aside, and that kind of opened up the door for, at that moment, what was Ottinger and Schoenberg to take over the top 2 spots. Pitted very early on a run that nobody else seemed to agree with. Well, now we're very deep into this run, this time by 57 laps to go from Atlanta Motor Speedway. And when you talk about that 46 of Clampett, of course, right now, last time that we saw these drivers down in the pit lane was at lap number 76, which means that I think we've got one more pit stop due up if this race stays rain before we get to the end, and we're not all that far away from seeing that time come up. I think the window is open, but these drivers are going to wait just a tad bit longer so they can pretty much split it 50-50.
Indeed, I think it is definitely open right now. As you see a bobble from the 74 of Hurst, the 05 of Ottinger moves to the inside, and it looks like he'll pick up position number 2 this time to move Ottinger back up to 2nd, Hurst back to 3rd, and here comes Michael Conti out of nowhere, driving that forefront number 5 back to the front of the field, and he is there. Ottinger with another big bobble off of corner number 2. I don't think Hurst is going to get there, but it's going to allow Logan Clampett to have some breathing room. 74 points it towards the inside, can't seem to get there this time, but when you look at it, we've almost got to that 40 lap mark or so on this run. We're within that 55 lap pit window, 55 to 58 laps you can go on tires and a tank of fuel comfortably, but the pit window is open. It's just a matter of these next 10, 15, 20 laps. When does everybody decide to come down? And if you're Michael Conti, you saw it before, that strategy probably would have worked if the caution flag didn't come out.
Yeah, it looked like he was going to be in a position. You saw when we went on board and how fast he was, and it was certainly going to come down to if he was planning on making maybe 2 stops to the end of the race from that point, if everybody else was going to try to stretch it out and simply do 1 stop, or if he was on a 3 stop or they were on a 2, but he was certainly on a different strategy. It would have been fun to see how that would have all played out. Instead, you pretty much just get back to square one in all of this, and he's got a fair shot just like anybody else to try to make something happen as he goes to the inside of Schoenberg, the 05, not the best exit on corner number 2, and he powers through the field. Mike Conti now back into the number 2 position right now. The 05 continues to slide, and I don't think Ottinger's done dripping back. The 74-34 all over him, though, as Conti maybe now the best challenger to go back for the race lead.
Ottinger came up the racetrack just a wee bit in the middle of 3 and 4, and I think Taylor Hurst anticipated him to come up a little bit further, got out of the gas, and got a little bit sideways to 34 of Busa to the inside. Ottinger is going to clear him, and Taylor Hurst is going to try to roll the top to the outside of Busa and try to do the same, but one of the fastest drivers on the racetrack now sits in position number 2, Michael Conti, moving in on Logan Clampett. Last lap by, both 31.7s, but the 5 of Michael Conti gets the run through the double dogleg down to the inside of Logan Clampett, and they'll go side by side on lap 116 for the lead position. Clampett going to have the run here out of 2, but what can Conti do?
Yeah, Conti's going to be able to stick just about with him. The 46 certainly faster off of 2. But I think out of all the challenges we've seen, we've certainly been able to look at what Hurst has been able to do on the inside. The 5 best of them all. And we're going to go 3 wide with the 24 up top. But it's a battle for the race lead mixed in with it. Clampett want to go as high as he can. With the 24 might have spooked him. I don't know if Clampett lifted or not. But he is going to pinch Conti on the inside in the battle for the race lead at lap 117. Michael Conti has blitzed through the field. And it looks like a matter of time because that car is bad fast.
But once again, coming off a turn 2, a little bit of a 4-wheel drift to the inside. Going to lose a little bit of time and lose that inside line to that Camry in front of him. The 46 of Clampett goes wide into turn 4. Lets the 5 of Conti inside to operate. Gives him enough room to go side by side. They'll drive it down back into corner number 1. And as they continue to battle, it's closing in. Matt Busa behind. The 5 of Michael Conti wants to get this done and done in a hurry so he can get by and try to get a little bit of time on the 46 of Clampett, but Clampett not letting him have it easy.
He's not going to let him have it easy, and I think that's exactly that little bit of extra spark. We had talked about it, you mentioned with Conti last year, just missing a cut. We've seen it already this year with Clampett missing out on the playoffs to go on to get that first win of the season at Indianapolis. As race leaders are on pit road, looks like Busa was the first one to pull the trigger, so inside of 50 laps to go, cars are headed down pit road. We'll watch the battle for the race lead to see if any of these two decide to come down. But to the point I was going to make there, maybe that missing the playoffs has put a little bit of a drive and some extra passion in Logan Clampett as he passes by the pit lane entry. Another lap. The 5 of Conti does come in from second, and Ray Alfaro makes up a ton of time and closes in on the entry. He's right there with the 5 car.
I think with these drivers coming down pit road, it really forces your hand right now, especially if you're in that top 10 or you think you have a shot at winning this thing. You saw Jimmy Mullis on your screen moving up to position number 2 on track with Logan Clampett continuing to lead the field this time by through 3 and 4. He's looking to the inside. Does he make the move down onto pit road? I believe he's going to come down to the Richmond Raceway number 46. Indeed he will. Logan Clampett going to surrender the lead to Mullis in a second. Going to come down onto pit road. Nick Shelton going to come down and do the same. So within 3 laps or so, your top 10 and come down to pit road.
And I just have to think, I don't think Logan Clampett had the fastest car at the end of that run. So the fact that he allowed a majority of those cars behind him to pit before him, I don't think Logan Clampett's going to be leading this race when everything cycles back through. You can see Michael Conti, Ray Alfala, and all of the rest of those cars just now exiting the pit lane on the back straightaway. Logan Clampett completing his stop for 4 tires and fuel, and he will exit pit road. Casey Kerwin, yeah, he's your race leader, but watch Clampett compared to Conti, where they blend back up onto the racetrack. There's the 46. He's on the apron, but watch out, and there goes the 5, and it is not even close. Conti sails on by. Looks like he will get the best of that fight, but even better in all of that was Nick Onger. The 05 goes all the way through. Busa also in front of them, so the sooner you pit it, the better off you are.
And they are going to make the pass on the current leader, the 14 of Casey Kerwin. Phil Diaz in position number 2. And looking at the numbers here, Evan, they pitted around lap 74, 75. So you add 55 to 58 laps to that. They should be able to go to 130-ish or so before they come down into pit road. So maybe another 10 laps or so before these guys come on to pit road. If a caution comes out within the next 10 laps with all these drivers like Bobby Zielinski and Zach Novak trying to blitz their way through here, somebody makes a mistake, it's going to pay off for them, but it's not going to pay off for Kerwin. Comes down into pit road and slides into the grass. Going to miss the commitment line. We're going to stay green, but I would say that's probably going to be a penalty for the 14.
And that's going to be an unsafe pit entry, and I don't think he was actually inside the box at the line, so I don't think he's going to get speedied, but certainly he will get an unsafe pit entry by cutting across that grass and going in. And another issue, Tim, Taylor Hurst in a number 74 machine was running in the number 5 position. And you can see right there at the top of your screen, he scored 28th right now. He came down to pit road, and he has since not left his pit box. So I don't know what the issue for Taylor Hurst is, but one of your top 5 cars is out of this thing.
That's a tough break for Taylor. Hurst was really, really quick here this evening and had a shot at winning this thing up in front. Now you see it on your screen. It's Ryan Lowe and Blake Reynolds, your top 2. And then back to Corey Vincent running in position number 3. So Here's your top two on your screen going down into corner number 3, lap 125 on the racetrack. Realistically, these guys can go another 5, 8, 10 laps or so, but they're not going to. They're going to come down into pit road here and surrender the lead. There's Ryan Lowe coming down to surrender the lead, and there's 10. Going to take that lead back. It's Corey Vincent.
And Corey Vincent going to cycle through to the race lead. Unlike a majority of the cars that were up front, he has not yet come down pit road. Last time by here, only 32-second lap time. Pretty slow. You see Andrew Fayash, the third, currently scored in second. Then you will find Brad Davies, Colton Davis, and then I believe Matt Busa is going to be the driver who would cycle through to the race lead. That is if he could maintain right now what is P5, because again I said Conti was able to beat Clampett off the pit road, but Ottinger beat him and Busa beat him. So those 3 cars you're looking at right now, that is P5, 6, and 7, and in no more than a couple of laps, that's going to become the battle for first, second, and third, and they are all on top of each other. They were much more spread out than they are now. I have a feeling that these drivers are going to be going at it any moment.
And then behind them, Alfala going at it with, I believe, Logan Clampett for a position. There's Clampett taking a look to the inside, and right behind them, Zach Novak, a part of that battle. Once this cycles through, that should be the battle for position number 4 as the 77 of Fayash continues to stay out on the racetrack. He just bypassed pit road one more time, so he'll complete 127 on the racetrack, but he's losing a ton of time to those guys behind him that did come down pit road. Clampett takes that spot over the 2 of Ray Alfala.
11 of Colton Davis hasn't even come down to the pit lane yet, and he's already been surpassed by all of those fast cars on the fresher tires. They go up on the outside, and again, this is going to be a very long run to the end of this race. Just took 40 laps to go that time by the line. You consider the fact that already to this point to the run, they've been doing about 50 laps or so. So if it stays green, it's going to be the longest run of the race, no doubt. So it's going to take a lot of patience for these drivers to be able to get to the end, and you're going to have to balance that patience with the ability and maybe that temptation to go for the moves whenever and wherever you want. You saw Busa peaking that time as Ottinger tried to get to his inside. Nothing happened there quite yet. And Andrew Fayash is in turn 3. That's your race leader, the damaged 77 machine. He is still not coming down pit road, Tim. You could give that 77 a mid-air refuel. He's not going to be able to stay in front of Busa and Ottinger Conti, regardless of the fact that he has to come down and get fuel, because they are so much quicker, and they'll catch him sooner or later.
But if he were to get a caution the next 2 laps or so, he would be the leader, and I'm assuming everybody else would also come down pit road behind him. So Fayash is hoping for a caution. Started in 9th this evening and wasn't able to. He's got the lead position now, but he's going to need a little bit of help as Corey Vincent goes to the inside of Busa. They're not for a position, but Andrew Fayash third continues to lead this thing and is hoping for a yellow flag in the next 2 laps or so here at Atlanta to make this strategy all play out.
Final portion of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Blue Def Diesel Exhaust Fluid, the #1 selling DEF in America. It looks like it is going to be a fantastic run to the end here from Atlanta. Still waiting to see if Busa, Ottinger, and Conti are going to be able to get there. And how much longer does Andrew Fayash have as your race leader? We'll take one quick opportunity to step aside. When we come back, the battle for the race win. You're watching the NASCAR PEAK Antifreeze iRacing series on RaceSpot TV.
Things can get rough out there.
The bumper to the back of the 24!
You think you got the brass?
I proved it last season.
That was last year. Now we've got young blood ready to take out the old. Start your engines. It's time to race.
Welcome back live to the Atlanta Motor Speedway. RaceSpot TV's coverage of the NASCAR PEAK Antifreeze iRacing Series playoffs continuing this evening. from the ATL. It is race 3 of 4 on the round of 8 of these 2018 playoffs. So happy that you're still with us on RaceSpot TV and the iRacing eSports Network. Evan Pasoko, Tim Terry upstairs with you. And Tim, we have seen Andrew Fayash since step aside and has given up the race lead, unable obviously to make it to the end of this race on fuel. So as we look to 33 laps to go, this is no longer a fight for 5, 6, and 7. This is it. That's the battle for the race lead. Logan Clampett, who was your race leader before pit stops, is scored in 4th position, 1.6 seconds off of the top spot. I think that's all the time he gave up by staying out an extra 2 laps. Busa leads, Conti's 2nd, Ottinger 3rd, and then Clampett 4th with Ray Alfala really picking it up. Great moves lately for the 2 car who sits P5. We'll see how long that'll last though, because it looks like he's got some company in a lap machine. We'll see if that affects him at all, and if Novak's going to be able to catch up. But it's the battle for the race lead there. Matt Busa looking for a race win tonight. He would be able to do so, obviously. Good news for him. It would kind of clear up the mess. He came into tonight 5 points above the cut line. A win puts him into the championship 4.
Indeed it would, but even if Conti were to get to victory lane behind him, and a great run, Conti just head off of corner number 2. If Conti goes to victory lane and Busa can finish 2nd, it would, I wouldn't say lock him in to a points position, but it would make him feel rather comfortable, I would think, going in to Dover. We're talking about Matt Busa in car number 34, and looking down the list, Ryan Luza came in as your point leader per se, and he sits in position number 7 right now, so he's comfortable. You see him on your screen. Jimmy Mullis is closing in behind him. Ray Alfalo, we documented in position number 5. Keegan Leahy having a bad night. Nick Shelton in the top 10 here this evening. Bobby Zielinski in the just outside the top 10 position number 11. So the only driver that's really having a subpar run right now, your playoff contenders, is Keegan Leahy, who was involved in that second caution period back on lap number 73. And he's going to have to get up on the horse next week at Dover to try to win his way into Homestead.
He's basically going to be in the you have to win or you're going to go home situation. Michael Conti in the 5, those really closed in on your race leader. It had almost looked like it was going to be more so Conti and Ottinger fighting with each other. They both stripped back a little bit from that 34 car, but as you go on board with Conti, you can see him just seesawing away at that wheel, trying to be able to stick up on the 34 machine. Conti's there. That's a car length between 1st and 2nd. We're going to see a good old-fashioned battle for the race win at Atlanta. This racetrack has hosted many memorable finishes, and another one maybe due up now. Very different line though, Tim. The 5 a lot higher. He gave up tons of time into the quarter, but it is a huge runoff. He's right there now in the 3, and he'll do the same thing as Conti likes it up top, I guess.
Conti had a great run into corner number 2 that last time by, and gets a decent run here at a corner number 4 and pokes it up to the outside. And if he can stay to the outside, Busa goes down low. Conti may have the lead before we head to the back straightaway. Gives up a little bit of time, as you mentioned here, in the entry to the corner, but he's going to get this super run at a corner number 2. He is going to be there in the 34 points into the inside. Hello, how you doing, Matt Busa? 5 of Michael Conti to the inside with that great run, but Busa, if he's better than Conti anywhere, it's right here, and Conti likes that outside line in 3 and 4. Conti going to come up the racetrack a little bit, try to get a little bit of a run through the double dog leg. Even at the line, Busa going to be scored as your leader on that lap, and Conti's not going to have the outside this time through 1 and 2.
The 5's not going to have that preferred lane, so this may be it for the 34 machine of Busa. He gets the run coming off of corner number 2, and it is going to be a successful defense of the race lead, and that's why I think Busa leaving the inside wide open. You saw how fast Conti was up top. That 5 car gets on your outside. I think forget about it. I think that is the line that Conti would like to get to. It's just so difficult to force your way to somebody's outside. Obviously, it's the long way around the racetrack. You need quite a run to be able to go up there, so you'll see Busa leave the inside open. The 5 goes down there, gets alongside it, but he can't make it stick off the corner, and I think Busa's thinking, hey, if Conti wants to go down there and eat up his tires every lap, feel free. I'm fine right now in the middle.
And when you look at Michael Conti, he had the option the last time through 1 and 2 to go to the outside line, but Busa ran that middle lane. Conti opted to go to the inside, and now they're single file once again. We'll see if Conti will drive it up to the outside line. Looks like he's going to stay on that inside groove. Busa going to stay in the middle, and looking back, Ottinger is within about 8 or 9 car lengths or so, but hasn't been able to make any inroads on that battle behind them. Logan Clampett sitting in position number 4, and He's got a lap car between himself and Nick Ottinger. That's Brad Davies in the 13, and then Ray Alfala sitting in position number 5. So within the top 5, the most intriguing battle is this one for the lead. Conti pokes the nose again to the inside. I don't think he's going to have the run down here into corner number 1, but at least he's going to try it.
And I've never been so unconcerned or unbothered, I don't think, by a battle for the race lead. I just don't see Conti getting the job done now. I certainly think the 5 has a better car. That's self-evident, but the fact that the 5 machine got caught off at a pit strategy and has been able to drive himself up here on the speed in that race car alone, we should have never doubted that there was speed in the number 5 machine after it qualified on a pole. But I think a lot of this comes down to track position. We've seen a lot of great funning tonight, but a lot of it has been somebody going to the inside, not completing a pass, and simply tucking in one. And I don't think Conti is better than the 34 enough to make up for that difference. I think that preferred line is really helping out that number 34 Toyota.
They're going to come up on the lap car of Keegan Leahy here. I don't think he'll be much of a factor in this one. The 5 of Michael Conti works to the inside of the 34. You look back to what is the battle for, well, it's not really a battle for position number 3 as Nick Ottinger holds that spot. Looking back, or that's the battle for the lead right now as Michael Conti looks to the inside. And you look back there, you've got some traffic behind them. So if these guys get busy, you might have a 3, 4, possibly 5 car battle for that lead position. But right now, they're going to go to the inside of Keegan Leahy.
Yeah, they're going to go to the inside, and again, the 24 was battling with these very cars earlier tonight. This is going to be, I believe, the second lap lost by Keegan Leahy, so he'll fall to 2 laps down, and again, you can see the damage on that car from the accident. He was involved on the back straightaway. He's basically going to have to win at Dover in 2 weeks if he wants a shot at the $10,000 that comes with the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series Championship. So sad to see what's happened with the 24, Jim, but you're exactly right. This used to be a 3-way battle for the race lead. In fact, I'm surprised Nick Ottinger has dropped back as much as he has in 3rd, but it is still only 0.8 of a second. You see him there. He'll be the next car to come up and pass the number 24 machine. They get side by side for any amount of laps, 2-3 laps. That's all it's going to take. If you stay glued side by side, neither of those cars is going to be running their preferred line, and that's how people behind you catch up. Now, the side by side we've been seeing is not that kind of 2x2 because the 34's been running exactly where he's wanted to, and it's been the 5 of Conti on the inside as he looks slow again as he actually gets the nose in front of the 34 in the center of the corner. But right here off is where Busa looks to make his money back, and he'll get a run, but it's the best the 5's been all night. Drag race to the start-finish line. Conti had a nose at the stripe. Can he complete the pass now at lap 149? Busa is perfect in turn 2. This is his best end of the racetrack. They'll stay even, but Michael Conti's got a shot at it.
And keep an eye on Fayash. Fresher tires for the 77, but I think he's going to let these guys battle it out for that top spot. The one thing Conti's not doing on that inside line is having that 4-wheel drift and having that slide, letting that rear end get out from underneath him. The last 2 times through corner number 4, he's been perfect on that inside line. The 34 Abusa doing all he can on the outside, but also giving a little bit of respect to the 5 of Conti and letting him run on the inside, letting him operate and try to take away the battle for the lead. But the 34 of Matt Busa may lose it here. The 5 gets a great run at a 2. The 34 gets a great run down the straightaway. They'll continue to be side by side, but Busa's going to have to dig deep here on lap 150 because Conti looks like he's got to run.
Yeah, he's got to find a little bit extra. The 34's been doing exactly what it needs to, but with that 5 not having that slot, as you mentioned, off of the corner, it makes him a formidable foe, and Conti just needs an extra couple of feet. He was so close on a 4, and he can't make it stick into center of 1 and 2. Almost into the wall goes the 34 Abusa, right up on the outside retaining wall, and these drivers are going at it all while the 77 of Fayash, a lapped car, tries to find a way through. He can sit back here, Tim DeMont, or if he decides to go for the move and tries to get on a bye, that could be dicey. Fayash wants to get back to the lead lap because if there's a caution between now and the end, he would then already be back at a lead lap, wouldn't have to waste a wave around it, and would be able to pit with your race leader. So the 77 wants to go, but he also doesn't want to get in the way. So it's a 2-way battle for the race lead with the lap car right in the thick of things.
Fayash has been involved in this sim for a long while. He knows that if it's not his time will come, and the 34 of Busa gets that great run off of corner number 4, and it allows Andrew Fayash III to get by on the outside. No harm, no foul there. He is on fresher tires by about 10 laps or so, and he'll try to clear the 5 of Conti. Conti will fight back on that inside line behind them. As they were battling side by side, Ottinger, Clampett, and Alfala were not able to make up any ground on those drivers in front of them. So they're going to have to try to dig deep. Ottinger's about a second behind Matt Busa, and Logan Clampett and Ray Alfala continue to be 1.5, 1.6 seconds or so behind. I think that's going to be the battle for position number 4 before this thing is all said and done. But they're going to have to find something else to get up there and battle with these guys up in front. But now Michael Conti sitting back behind the 34. They're going to allow the 77 of Fayash to work the outside. You think Conti's kind of maybe cooling his tires off a little bit here, waiting to try to pick up another battle, possibly for the win?
You got to question, what is this worth to Michael Conti, and what is this worth for Matt Busa? You can look at it two ways in regards to the the 5 machine of Michael Conti. He's already won, so he doesn't have anything to lose here. So he might not care as much if he doesn't win this race, but it also means that he might not be as careful. Now, Matt Busa is in a good position in points, even if he doesn't win this race. He came in tonight above the cut line. You finish in the top 5 or whatever, P2, worst case scenario maybe. If the 5 gets up and around you, you're still in a great spot headed into Dover. But you get in an accident there, you're done. So Matt Busa has a lot more hanging in the balance in this fight than that 5 of Michael Conti does. And sometimes, when you get battles like this for the race lead, sometimes it just comes down to who wants it more and who's willing to take that big risk. Don't think if these guys go side by side that Busa's going to be shy at all on throwing a block, because he needs this win. Michael Conti doesn't, and maybe in a game of chicken, therefore the 34 wins out.
As you look at the battle on your screen for position number 4, the 46 of Clampett to the outside of the 2 of Ray Alfala. Alfala trying to take it away from Clampett, but as we've seen, sometimes these battles take a couple laps to really work in. Alfala a little sideways off corner number 4. Clampett going to take that spot back. Meanwhile, Conti is now to the outside of the 34 of Busa for that lead position, trying to get that outside line to work. Can't get there this time. Off corner number 2, he'll fall back to position number 2. And the one thing you mentioned about this battle is he goes to the inside. Now Conti will try to take the spot away from Busa. These guys are satellite teammates, Radicals and Gale Force, working with Team Conti this year. So if anybody's going to cut anybody a little bit of slack, it might be these 2 up in front, and especially knowing that Conti is already locked into that final race. But the one thing they're going to have to watch out if they do continue to battle and battle hard, Nick Ottinger, you see that white car on the outside line there trying to get a little bit closer to this battle. He's trying to get into the playoffs in that final round at Homestead and trying to win. So you don't want to let that door open too wide, because if so, your other teammate will be closing in.
And the number one rule in racing, don't wreck a teammate. So you certainly don't want that to happen. This time by, though, only 9 laps to go from Atlanta. Nick Ottinger has started to close. He wasn't able to do so in that first round of side by side. But look at him way up on the outside on that Kyle Larson line. Conti doing the same thing way up against the outside wall. Well, Ottinger has closed the gap to 0.6 of a second. He might just have saved enough to make this a fight if he's able to get up there. But first, I think he needs Conti to battle with Busa to help him out. You're on board with Ottinger in third. Those first 2 cars in front of him. The white car is Conti P2. And the blue machine, number 34, to Busa, your race leader. Very different lines. One way down low, the other way up top.
He can sniff the draft now, can Nick Ottinger, in that Federated Auto Parts 400. Number 05 as he closes in on those 2 in front. If they continue to get side by side, I believe Nick Ottinger will be there, but we've seen how difficult it can be to set up a pass. So getting there is one thing, passing him is a whole different ballgame. Ray Alfala now to the inside of the 46 of Logan Clampett, battling for position number 4. As this lead battle gets tight, the battle for 4th continues on, and I think Ray Alfala may have Clampett cleared here.
Alfala going to try to complete that move to fight for position number 4 in the 46. Tries to dig on the inside. Alfala with a big wiggle off of the corner. And that's the only reason that Clampett's still going to be there. Side by side they go into turn 3. This one again, the battle for 4th and 5th position. Coming inside now, what's going to be 6 laps left to go from Atlanta. We'll keep a half eye on the battle for the race lead. It's not there yet, so we look at this fight, and Alfala holds off Clampett despite nearly putting it into the fence last time by.
just remember, Logan Clampett has essentially nothing to lose here. He's racing for 9th place in the championship standings outside of a playoff run. Ray Alfalo right now could potentially have to point his way in if he doesn't win at Dover. So 1 point one way or the other could mean the difference from battling for a championship at Homestead and trying to battle for 5th in that championship run. So Ray Alfalo right now takes that spot, pulls away a little bit from Logan Clampett and tries to close in on Ottinger, but up in front continues to be Busa, and Busa has extended that lead by about 3 lengths or so over the 5 of Michael Conti. So if Conti has anything left, he's going to dig deep here in these final 5 laps.
He needs to find just a little bit extra, and I think that outside line had been helping him, but he's getting the runs off for the corner, but it's about equal to the amount of time he's giving up into the corner by going on the outside. It is a big head of steam this time to turn 1. 5 to the outside. He entered the quarter about a car length off of your race leader, Matt Busa. Nick Ottinger now, close as he's been, only 5/10 of a second off of the race leading to position. The good news is these drivers are at the point of no return. A caution would end this one, so they're going to either fight it out to the end or pace if a yellow were to come out. No restarts this time by. Going to be just 3 laps left to go from Atlanta, and Conti still not giving up. He'll close all the way to the bumper down to turn 1.
He'll point it to the outside, down into corners number 1 and 2, gets that thing sideways on the outside, nearly kisses the wall in corner number 1 as he tries to take away the lead from Busa, but he'll get that run off of turn 2. Look at that run. Will he go to the inside here? Sticks in behind the 34 of Busa, put that in the memory bank, put that in the back pocket. That will definitely work, that run off 1 and 2. If he can get another one here, he is close on that 34 of Busa. The question is, can he get another run here off corner number 2 with 2 laps to go? This might be the best opportunity that he has. He'll go to that extreme outside. He'll lose a little bit on entry, but look at this run he's going to get off corner number 2 down the back.
The runoff for 2 has been so good, and it's a massive one. He's going to get to Busa. Does he make a move? Yes. To the inside as they head to quarter number 3. White flag is going to fly this next time by, and I think Busa's going to be able to hold strong on the outside. He will, and they'll come to 1 lap left to go from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. A pass to the championship 4 on the line for the 34 of Matt Busa. Lap traffic in front, not going to be a factor. The 5 of Michael Conti, a car length short, but a bobble. Conti gets sideways at a quarter number 2, and he's not going to be able to get to him. That mistake going to be the final nail in the coffin, and Matt Busa clear by 5 car lengths off of turn number 4. He'll go for the win at Atlanta and a ticket punch to Homestead. Matt Busa gonna fight for a Peak Antifreeze title in 2018.
And we know he's going to fight that driver behind him when we go to Homestead. Michael Conti, valiant effort here, but going to fall a little bit short by about 3 lengths or so at the end to finish in a second. And a little bit of congratulatory bump on the back straightaway to the 34. Ottinger holds on to position number 3. I think the fastest driver on that late run may have been the 2 of Ray Alfalo. He comes home 4th.
Yeah, that was the highest we saw Ray Alfalo all night as the congratulations comes from Logan Clampett, and Matt Busa appreciates the congrats and all, but he wants a race car left. He wants to do some celebrating, I'm sure, on the front straightaway. Brian Schoenberg gives him a congratulations as well, and something that Busa's been waiting on for some time. No wins in 2018, but a winner when it matters the most, and he celebrates on the front straightaway as your race winner from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And again, he will now notably join Michael Conti in the championship 4. We now know 2 of the 4 names that will fight for this 2018 title, and there was 1 race left to go for 2 more drivers to find their fate. We'll talk plenty about that and more in just a moment. Before we do, let's take a look top to bottom at tonight's RaceSpot TV full race results. Very fitting that Matt Busa is your hard charger tonight. Started 25th on the grid. And despite all the green flag action, he's going to be able to go all the way to the front, and he wins tonight from Atlanta. Michael Conti has to settle for the second place result. Nick Onger comes home third tonight. Great results for he and Ray Alfala in their championship bids. Alfala comes home P4, and Logan Clampett, winner from a week ago, rounds out your top 5. We will go trackside and talk with all of them momentarily. Ryan Lewis just misses out on that. He'll come home exactly where he started in 6th position. Jimmy Mullis kind of quiet towards the end, slides in for a P7. Brian Schoenberg with a P8 result. Nick Shelton comes home 9th, and Philip Diaz rounds out your top 10.
Michael Guest going to come home in position number 11. Bobby Zielinski in 12th. Zach Novak, Joe Letteriello, and Chris Shearburn your top 15. Blake Reynolds in 16th. Ryan Lowe 17th. David Rattler 18th. Casey Tucker in 19th. And Casey Kerwin complete your top 20.
Continuing on through final couple of cars to finish this one on the lead lap, going to be Corey Vincent and Marcus Richardson. They come home 21st and 22nd. A few cars a lap down, that'll be Faye Ashen 23rd, Brad Davies 24th, and Colton Davis, who comes home at a P25. Keegan Leahy, I believe, was still on track. He comes home P26. So was Christian Challenger in 27th. But the back few cars here all finished behind the wall. DNFs for Taylor Hurst in 28th, Adam Gilliland 29th, and Chris Overland, who rounds out the field in 30th. We'll take one opportunity to step aside when we come back. The post-race show. We'll talk with your top finishers and get you set for Dover. One race to go left on the round of 8. Matt Busa is your race winner. We'll talk with him next. You're watching the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series Playoffs on RaceSpot TV.
How restrictor plates reduce air intake. Moving on, drag is one of your biggest competitors.
It slows you down, so make sure your car is streamlined.
And don't forget to get an edge with drafting.
Take advantage of the high-pressure air between your car and the one in front. Then you can slingshot it.
You guys taking notes?
At the track, in the classroom, and online. Get special ticket offers for kids at NASCAR.com/kidstix today.
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Ray Alfala into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing
race lead to the inside goes Logan Clampett is going to touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside as Cronkite goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I tried, there's contact though.
and wide left of the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schumacher, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
And welcome back live to the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Another race down on the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series calendar. 16 weeks now complete, but most notably 3 races of 4 complete on the round of 8. Happy that you're with us for the RaceSpot TV post-race show on the iRacing eSports Network. Evan Pasoko, Tim Terry upstairs with you, with our director Hugo Louise bringing us to you. And we gave you a look top to bottom before we stepped aside. Let's have a chat with the newest driver who's into the championship for Matt Busa, your race winner tonight from Atlanta, punches his ticket into the winner-take-all finale at Homestead. We're trackside with him now. Matt, first off, congratulations. You guys did it.
Thank you, man. It's unbelievable. It took 6 years to get this first win. That's not a stat that I'm too proud of, but at least there's no more zero in the win column.
We talk about drivers picking it up at the right moment, and certainly you guys running at the best that we have seen out of that team. You were in a position headed into the seeding only 5 points above the cut line. Even if you don't win this race, you get a lot of points, and it puts you in a good position headed to Dover. But, we were talking a lot about Logan Clamp, and he won a couple of weeks ago, not in the playoffs, but kind of making a statement. I think you guys making a statement here as well. Michael Conti didn't need that win. You did. How hard were you willing to fight for him with it? Because that battle went on for the entirety. I think that 40-lap run to the end, you guys didn't get much more than maybe a car length or two apart.
Yeah, I saw him coming, and I knew he was the very first run of the race really, really quick. And we were on TeamSpeak, actually, and he moved into a separate channel. I was like, oh, this is either good, he's going to let me have it, or bad, he's going to race me hard. And the next thing I know, he's flying up the inside and almost had me cleared. I had to run that top lane, which I found out was really good in 1 and 2, and that's how I cleared him. And that towards the end of the run, I really, really liked the bottom of the track, and that was the perfect time to clear him, get the bottom of the track rolling, and was able to hold him off.
Obviously, this win means a lot, but the timing on it, it's so difficult to get a win in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series in the first place, and you guys have, experienced that through these last couple of years in the road to this, but the importance of this win, the fact that it locks you into the championship 4, and now you're 1 race away between a title, and you guarantee that you will be there alongside somebody like a Michael Conti, who has found the highest of success possible in this series in the past. What does the timing mean for everything?
Yeah, it couldn't have been any better timing. It's also good I was the only chaser to not have a win, so that's also a nice stat to correct. And yeah, it's just unbelievable to think that I'll be able to race now for that $10,000 prize and a trip to Homestead. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, but definitely looking forward to it.
I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to talk with you between now and then, so I won't, harass you with the questions about Homestead. We know what it's going to be like going through the week off before then, and then obviously going at it, one race to determine who gets the $10,000, who walks away with that 2018 Series Championship. So instead of asking about next time out, we'll head to Dover International Speedway. Doesn't matter to you now. You're locked in. But when you look at what you've been able to do thus far this season, how fast you guys have been, does that continue in 2 weeks' time? And is there anything else you can learn, anything else you can improve on in that one race before it gets really serious?
Yeah, our goal for Dover is going to be one thing, and it's just to get Ottinger into the chase. And you can probably hear my cat. I think he's a little bit excited too right now. But yeah, just trying to get Ottinger into the playoffs. Hopefully we can get him a win at Dover. We're all going to work very hard on that setup. And at the same time, probably get some testing laps done for Homestead to get a head start.
We certainly want to let you two take off so you can get to celebrating, but we appreciate the time. And before we let you jet out of here, Matt, we're taking a look at the number 34 Toyota, the sponsors, and all of those good folks who has made this possible for you throughout the years and then tonight and all season.
Yeah, I'll take the time to thank a lot of people here for the fact it took me 6 years to get this win. There's a lot of who have helped me through the way. It all started really with Zach Hudson, actually. Joined his team back in 2011, I believe. And after that, I was able to make the Pro Series with his team. And then I was able to jump on Gale Force with Nick Ottinger. And I'm still with Gale Force. And of course, the collab we have with Team Conti right now. Michael Conti, Brian Schoenberg, Brandon Hastings, Pat Millay. And Nick, my teammate, obviously, has been really influential throughout the last 6 years. As far as sponsors go, this year we've joined up with Radicals Racing to represent them on the road side and also on the peak side. So I got to thank Cranfield Simulation, Joel Real Timing, Aster Sim Race, Driving Simulator, Six Sideways. And my primary sponsor right now is Lombard Bros Gaming. They hopped on board about a month or two ago. And I got to give a huge shout out to Joseph and Zachary. Gotta check out their website and their YouTube channel, Lombard Bros Gaming. They have really great contacts, doing it for good causes. And yeah, guess I'll give a shout out to my girlfriend too, Sierra. She's definitely the best. She always texts me for these races like, oh, good luck with it. Hope the car tuning is going well. It's really awesome to have good support all the way around. And thanks to you guys for broadcasting and everybody at iRacing who does a really good job of promoting this series and making it something big.
Well, again, congratulations on getting that win and qualifying yourself into the championship four. But again, Matt, we're happy to be a part of this and you to get that first win for you. So again, congratulations on that. And hopefully we're chatting again in 2 weeks' time. If not, though, best of luck at Dover and best of luck at Homestead. We'll certainly be watching that number 34. We'll catch you soon.
Thank you. And I got to give a quick shout out to Caleb Eisenhower, my spotter for the past few races. He's done an awesome job. Got me my first career win. So thank you.
Team effort for Matt Busa tonight is your race winner from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. First career win, and it is going to punch his ticket into the championship four. He joins Michael Conti. They await to find out who their fellow two competitors will be, and we might have to wait until next time out to figure that out, but the one driver we know is going to be there is Mike Conti, who comes home second tonight. Trackside with him is Tim.
Well, Mike, you had nothing to lose this evening, but man, oh man, you gave it a run. Talk about those runs you got on the outside line. It really gave you a lot of momentum in it, too.
Yeah, that was quite a battle there with Matt. Just really kind of used up my stuff earlier on in the run. Just getting to Matt. He was pretty equal with me. I mean, a lot of people don't really see Busa's true pace because he's qualified in the back the last several races, but I mean, he's back there and he makes time, and that's why he's come up through the field the last 3 or 4 consecutive races. But got up to him, kind of got tight on the bottom, like the track was changing a little bit there, and he was just pinching me down so much on both ends that I really couldn't do anything with it. And I mean, the last thing I want to do is run into my teammate, especially when he's in a really critical position. So I figured I would try something different there and go to the top. And it was starting to roll there at the end. I feel like if I maybe had a little bit more tire and a little bit more time and maybe could have done it, but I'm just super proud of everybody on this team. Team Conti, Gale Force, Chaos Crew, representing it big time here the last couple weeks. Cars are just phenomenal. Even when I won the championship several years ago, many moons ago back in 2014, I don't think the cars were this good. So I'm proud of those guys. I'm proud of what we've done and how far we've come this year. And Homestead's going to be fun. If we can run this well at Atlanta, I'm pretty confident about our chances at Homestead.
Now, obviously, when we talk to Busa, the goal is try to get Nick Ottinger into the playoffs. But let's put that aside and let's talk about Dover as a race itself. What do fans expect in 2 weeks' time at Dover with this package that we're currently running?
It's going to be crazy. A lot of tire fall off. Not sure what time of day Dover is, but we were late afternoon for this race here, so it kind of cut down the tire fall off a little bit, but it was still pretty severe. And Dover usually chews up the tires, so it's going to be a lot of the same. A lot of people just struggling late in the run, loose on entry, loose off, just trying to move around the track. So if we can get the car dialed in again like we did tonight, we're going to be really strong. So obviously goal is to get Nick in the final four, if not with a win on points. I know he was a little bit behind coming into tonight, but I think he made up a few points, which is good. So just having really good cars and running this well for Forefront and everybody back at Richmond that's put this deal together is pretty cool. And I know Nick wants to get in this final four. We want to see him in the final four, and we're going to work really hard in the next couple weeks to hopefully make that happen for him.
You mentioned Forefront in this race car. Who else makes it happen for you, and who's on the team that helps you get to the racetrack every week?
So the guys that get me to the desk every week, like I said, Forefront, all the guys back there that jumped on board this year with the Richmond collaboration. Thank you to all of you for putting your name on the car. Cool to represent them. They work with Hendrick Motorsports and a bunch of companies in the industry, so it's cool to be a part of that. Just Dennis and Mike and Daryl and everybody back at Richmond for taking a chance at a bunch of guys driving their desks every other Tuesday. I really appreciate what they've done. They're trying to make this deal bigger, and thanks to you guys and a lot of people involved with this, Nick Wren at NASCAR, Otto, Steve, everybody at iRacing. We're trying to make this deal big, and we're getting there. So it's really cool to see that. But everybody at Team Conti, Team Conti, Gale Force, everybody there, thank you so much for the help. And looking forward to Dover in a couple weeks. We're going to we're going to run really well again, and we're going to make it happen.
That's Michael Conti coming home with position number 2 here this evening. A valiant effort, but came out just a little bit short to Matt Busa in the 34. I believe Evan has caught up with our third-place finisher, Nick Ottinger.
Yeah, it's going to be a P3 result tonight for the 05 to Nick Ottinger. Trackside with him now. Nick, congratulations. A solid result for you guys. You needed a good run because you came into tonight in the gray, and that's obviously not what you're hoping for. And with 2 races to go, I think the speed that you guys had tonight has to make you feel somewhat good. It's not going to be enough to put you above the cut line. I think it's still going to be a deficit of 12 points, but you do pick up a spot. You jump to P5 with a great run. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, first off, I want to congratulate Busa. He's worked here just to get better and better, and for him to finally get a win, I think it's a little monkey off his back. He showed he was a top driver in this series tonight, and I mean, he started 25th tonight, came up through the field and passed a lot of cars, and I mean, he got it done. But for us tonight, I mean, we really had a really solid 05 car tonight, and I think that's just a testament to how hard our guys at Team Connie and Radicals Online with Matt Busa, myself, and Brian Schoenberg, Mike Connie, just how hard we worked, even just the last month, just to get top-notch cars out there. It's proven to run good. We had a little driver didn't get his job done. I say the second to last run there, getting by the 46 and 74, and kind of overused the tires and put us a little bit of a bind where maybe we could have potentially had a shot at Busa at the end, but better driver won tonight for sure.
The entire team was good tonight, and it looked very racy out there. We saw tons of side-by-side, 3 wide at times, but it did look like, despite the fact that you could get to somebody and challenge them, it was still rather challenging to complete that pass. Now, you start up front, you finish up front, so does Mike, Logan Ryan, and all those other guys. Matt Busa was able to come flying through the field there. What was the difference you feel like that you guys had in the car, and as a team, I think as a whole, helped you out completing passes where we saw the drivers struggle? Certainly, it looked like the outside was the place to be, but how did that evolve, if at all, over the course of the race?
It evolved a pretty good bit. I know our teammate Busa, he started off tighter, and the big issue I had tonight was I was just sliding the nose to the center, and I couldn't hold the bottom as good. So we worked on that, where we could try to run the bottom for at least the middle portion of each run, and it helped us for sure. But where I was better was just the top side, about 15 to 20 laps left in a run. I just could gain so much time on guys, no matter how loose the track or how free the cars were. I mean, I just could generate a little better drive off turn 2, but I mean, it was definitely fun not being able to run everywhere. I mean, and our car ran good everywhere, just tried putting it best I could, and we fell into a 3rd place tonight, which no feat of its own is pretty good.
You mentioned it feels good to get a great run. How is this at all going to be able to translate into Dover? Because you go into a position where you're going to be 12 points behind the cut line. You 5th, Ray Alfala 4th. That's a 12-point spread. Obviously, you need to get a good run. If not, he has a little bit of bad luck. But there's always that alternative that you and any of the 3 drivers behind you get a win, and it takes care of itself. So what's the outlook on Dover, and how many hours are going to be spent practicing between now and then?
We're going to be spending a pretty good amount. I think it's, like I mentioned, we had a pretty good car tonight. I've been historically ran pretty good at Dover. I've won there in the past in 2013, and I'd like to bring another car like I did back then where I could just put it on cruise control and win. But, I mean, with the field we got now, I mean, it's going to be a tall task. But, I mean, I can't see why we can't get our Federated Auto Parts Richmond Raceway Camry in the victory lane at Dover with all the hard work that all Team Connie Radicals Online's been doing.
We look forward to seeing what result you can pull out of that one. I know it's been a long night, Nick. We'll let you jet before we do. Anybody want to say hi to?
I just want to say big congrats to Busa again. I mean, like I said, just come from 25th back there to pass all these cars, and even Mikey when he had to start in the tail end after pit cycles when a caution flew. I mean, that just tells you how the caliber drivers we got in this championship for. So, I mean, I got my work cut out for me at Dover.
Look forward to that one. We appreciate the time. Again, congratulations on the solid result. Hopefully it all works out for you as you guys try to make the cut.
Hey, you guys have a good night.
Third place finisher tonight from the Atlanta Motor Speedway, Nick Ottinger, with a great result coming home on the podium this evening. He is able to finish just in front of the driver who he will trail in the points headed into the next race. It is a P4 this evening for Ray Alfala. Tim's with him.
Yeah, Ray Alfala comes home with position number 4. First of all, the end of the race, you were battling with Logan Clampett for that position. Talk about battling with that 46.
Yeah, that was intense. It was just very, very frustrating trying to make a pass. It seemed like that middle line was the fastest, and you just couldn't get around on the bottom, and the top just kind of, it was, at least for my car, it didn't really work. But so it was just very, very frustrating and extremely difficult to make passes tonight. Ironically, right at Atlanta, multiple grooves, but it seems like everybody just gets stuck on the same line. But it was hard work, but we're still alive.
After Indianapolis, after the little hiccup there, how relieving is it to come home with the top 5 finish here in Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, we knew Indy was, we didn't know we would be as bad as we were, when we started. We just kind of ran around 10th to 15th all race, and then we crashed. So, but here, we were pretty good, but again, we kind of messed up in qualifying and started outside the top 10. And if I could have started, up front, I don't think I had anything for Conti, but I think I could have finished second in this race. Not that it really matters. It's 2-point difference, which, it could come down to that, but, it's kind of win or just hope for a top 5. And, now we head to Dover where we have a little bit of a cushion.
And let's talk about that cushion. Unofficially, it's 12 points back to Nick Ottinger. Keegan Leahy is back a little bit further than that. But going into Dover, what's the mindset knowing that you have to make sure you have a little bit of a cushion between yourself and Ottinger in the finishing order?
Yeah, it's basically finish top 10 and hope none of those guys win.
That's easier said than done, though, right?
Yeah. I have bad memories at Dover there. Had a pretty bad crash there a few years ago. Pretty much cost me a title. So I know it can. I had like a 20-something point advantage, that year. So now it being half of that, I know it's still up in the air. We're not locked into Homestead anyway, and we still got work to do with pace. At this point, we're not really. I wouldn't say we're really fast enough to win the title without some luck. So that's where we got to really improve things.
Before we let you go here this evening, who's on the side of this number 2 car?
Yeah, virtualracingschool.com for coaching and data packs and just general information on how to improve your driving. Thanks to everybody at Slip Angle Motorsports. Matt Bontempi, we came over a few weeks ago, joined our team, and he's been a great help. And Bobby as usual, and Chris Overland came in today, and he made some good changes to the car. So, thanks to those guys, and thanks to Chris Henning and Liam Brotherton for their help on the box. We'll head over to Dover in a couple weeks, and it's not my best track, but it's also not my worst. So we'll see what happens.
There's Ray Alfala coming home with another great top 5 effort, and will go into Dover 4th in the point standings, trying to lock himself into the final playoff round of the Homestead Miami Speedway. And the driver that was battling with him late in the race was Logan Clampett. Logan, let's talk about that battle with Ray. Ray said it was intense. What did you feel from the cockpit of the 46?
Yeah, it was fun. I kind of messed up there off turn 4 and got loose in the tri-oval, which gave up that position. But I wanted to drive the car easier than it was. I got a little bit of right front damage. Ray and I were coming through the field on fresher tires, and one of the cars pulled down in front of us and kind of ran into him, had some contact, and got some front end damage from that. So I just wish we could have had a better shot at that. It kind of slowed our straightaway speed down quite a bit, but it's still top 5.
Ran up front, came home with a top 5 finish. Have to be happy with the effort here, but let's look forward. Obviously, trying to lock down that 9th place position in the points, and got a little bit of a cushion back to Jimmy Mullis, about 34 points going into Dover. What do we expect for a race at a Dover? Can we see this 46 car in victory lane?
Hopefully. I was hoping to make it 2 in a row tonight. we were close. We let some laps, but hopefully we get a good finish out of it. I want to be that guy entering next season, looking in to the top 8. So yeah, hopefully we can pull off another top 5 maybe.
And the best way to do that is to make some waves and win these next 2 races, right?
Exactly.
Who do you got on the side of this race car? Obviously, it's a good night for the Chaos crew, 3 in the top 5. Who do you got on the side of the race car? Who helps you get to the racetrack?
Yeah, thanks Richmond Raceway and for being on the hood, Chaos crew, Kicker Audio, Sim Seats, Forefront. Thanks to JD Laird for being on the box and painting this beautiful paint scheme, and especially Lockdown Racing. They put in a lot of hard work. Jimmy Molis, Zach Novak, Taylor Hurst, they all put in a bunch of hard work, a bunch of ideas thrown at the setup. And then shout out to my friend Chris Nasowski. It's his birthday today. Happy 19th birthday. But yeah, that's about it. Thanks to Peak, you guys, and iRacing.
And that's Logan Clamper coming home with a top 5 run and getting closer to solidifying that 9th place point position. And Evan, I think if Logan was in there, those guys in the playoffs might have been shaking in their boots a little bit because he's been pouring on the pressure.
You count that race when he had 2 weeks ago, it would be a very different playoff grid. Ray Alfalo would be on the outside looking in if Logan Clampett's win from 2 weeks ago counted in the grand scheme of things. Instead, he missed out, and here is a look at your updated playoff grid as we leave the Atlanta Motor Speedway and head into Dover. Notably, of course, Matt Bussa with that win leapfrogs Lusa, and he gets the automatic ticket into the Championship 4. You can see he and Conti locked in on wins. They will race at the Homestead Miami Speedway in a couple of weeks' time. But the points picture for the rest of the drivers, Ryan Lusa almost, but not yet, a mathematical lock. Would have to have an extremely bad race for it to not happen, but you never know as the 6 machine looks to just cruise into the round of 4. And then, of course, this is where it gets complicated, Tim, because Ray Alfala is still in 4th, but the gap grows to 12 points. That's the little bit of a cushion that he had mentioned, but that could go away in one restart or two. So Alfala in by 12. It's Ottinger out by 12. He's got a shot, I think, at points it in. But then you look at the bottom 3. Leahy, Zelensky, Shelton, 24, 27, and 28 points back, respectively. Basically need a win if they have it.
And we've been saying control your own destiny. It's easy for us to say, but I think Ray Alfala kind of summed it up nicely. If I finish in the top 10, I'm into the final round at Homestead, which essentially is what it is. If he finishes in the top 10, Nick Ottinger wins, and Ray's still going to get it on points. But if somebody wins behind him, that changes it all. So it is complex, but for Ray Alfala, he's got to get up there, control his own destiny. Obviously, a win would be nice, but he's also had some bad luck at Dover as well. So going to be an interesting race at Dover. Anything can happen at that racetrack, and everything happens really quickly. So Michael Conti, Matt Bussa, and essentially Ryan Lusa can breathe easy. Ray Alfala, Nick Ottinger, Keegan Leahy, Bobby Zielinski, and Nick Shelton all going to have to be up on the wheel. Ray Alfala, Nick Ottinger have a little bit of a breathing room per se, and Keegan, Bobby, and Nick are pretty much going to have to win that race at Dover to race for $10,000 at Homestead.
And they call it the Monster Mile. It's an elimination race after all, so we will see who survives and who gets eaten when we head to Dover in 2 weeks' time. Until we get to that point, though, that does it for us here tonight from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Race number 3 of the playoffs falls into our rear-view mirror. Have to thank all of the people who make these broadcasts possible. For Eastman Ballo providing the camera angles, Simon Grossman, Kevin Papey, their team for the broadcast CG, Andy Werner's on the graphics. On behalf of Will Vincent, Hugo Louise, Drew Adamson, the entire team at RaceSpot TV and at iRacing, and for your broadcast team tonight. For myself, Evan Fasoko, for Tim Terry, and our director, Hugo Louise, we want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Matt Bussa, finally a winner on Tuesday nights, and it's so important because he is headed to the Championship 4. This series will return on Tuesday, October the 9th from Dover International Speedway. day. That race and every race on the road to the championship in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series can be found right here on RaceSpot TV and the iRacing eSports Network. Until next time, good night from Hot Atlanta. We'll determine the championship 4 when we see you next time.